Moving through Lake Ontario, you'll find one of the great cities in the world. It's also a fantastic sports town, and IndyCar is north of the border for the first time in 3 years. Welcome to Toronto, Ontario, Canada for the Honda Indy Toronto and the NTT IndyCar Series. And this is IndyCar Live, presented by Liberty Mutual. And welcome to the grid, one of the most unique pit lanes that you're going to find. Kevin Lee, Townsend Bell, James Hinchcliffe, and we are excited to be back in Toronto. And Hinch, well, you've had nobody's had better success than you over the last 4 years here with an average finish of 4. And we're back racing in your hometown.
And that's what it's all about, guys. Finally being back to Toronto after 2-year absence. I know the teams missed it, the drivers missed it, and the fans missed it. But guys, the fans have turned up in a huge way this weekend. Largest crowd we've had since the late 90s. I cannot wait to see the show we put on for them. And the show's going to be a good one, Townsend, because this track, it is not easy.
This track is not easy, and it always delivers drama. And the reason for that is this is the shortest rotor street circuit on the IndyCar schedule. Couple that with the fact that this pit lane is totally sketchy. It turns 3 times on pit lane. We've never had this many Indy cars on this pit lane, 25 cars in total. And if we get a yellow, Kevin, the yellow flag stops are going to be wild. And we've never had a race here without a yellow in 35 years.
And do we have storylines for you as we move into the second half of the season? Team Penske has been hot. They've won 6 of 9 this season. Scott McLaughlin, the most recent winner a couple of weeks ago at Mid-Ohio. Honda, though, strong here this weekend. They swept it. Colton Herta on pole. Scott Dixon starting next to him. And how about the tension we have right now with fireworks at Mid-Ohio a couple of weeks ago? And then this week, the reigning champion, Alex Palou, has essentially been claimed by 2 teams. A press release comes out from Chip Ganassi Racing announcing that they have picked up his option. Palou says, not so fast. I didn't approve of this quote. I don't plan on remaining. And then 5 minutes later, McLaren says they've signed Palou. Meanwhile, Ganassi says, no, he's ours for next year. Just a few minutes ago, Dave Burns caught up with Alex Palou.
So it certainly has been the talk all week long. Alex Palou, 2 teams saying that he is going to drive for them next year. So, Alex, who's it going to be?
Well, you know, we spoke on Friday, and I don't really have much else to add to what I already said before, but we're here in Toronto, man. I'm 100% focused on the race. Unfortunately, we haven't had the easiest of the weekends with a failure yesterday in qualifying, but we have an amazing car, amazing team around us, and we'll try and win this race today.
So just for those folks that hadn't tuned in, you've talked with Chip about it. Are you guys all good?
Yeah, of course. Why not? I mean, at the end of the day, we want the same, and it's to win. The rest, it's going to sort itself out, and it's not going to be during the race weekends as it should be. So, yeah, we have the same target, and it's to win today.
You and I talked about how challenging it would be before we knew about the crash in practice and the qualifying woes with the motor. How difficult will it be from 22nd to win?
It's always tough, man. It's always tough to win in the IndyCar. Here, probably it's the best place to have a bad start of a weekend, not running all practice too, and with an issue on qualifying. But the good thing is that could have been much worse. We have the pace, which is the most important here in IndyCar. I feel that when you have pace, you're able to move up front with different strategies, same strategies, whatever. So we have pace. We have plenty of pace. So we'll try and do some stuff to overtake a lot of cars. But yeah, we have 21 cars to overtake, and we'll try and make it happen.
All right, guys. Says he's okay with the current boss, and we'll see what kind of pace he has to move from the back of the field today.
But Dave, safe to say this is far from done. Townsend, what do you make of this?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, to be successful in IndyCar, you've got to have successful relationships between team owner and driver. This is a bit like finding out that your wife is legally married in another state to somebody else. Both those team owners, Zach Brown and Chip Ganassi, staring at a piece of paper. All I can tell you is that Chip Ganassi didn't seem thrilled when I got here. He simply told me Alex Palou is under contract to my team for next year.
But that's just the drama that's been happening off track. On track, we can't let Andretti Autosport off the hook for what happened 2 weeks ago at Mid-Ohio. A lot of teammates getting into each other, some very serious discussions at that team after that race, Kev.
Oh, yes. Wait, there's more. The Andretti drivers hit just about everything but the 2-seater 2 weeks ago.
A lot of Andretti on Andretti crimes happening today.
I love my teammates. They're so great.
Team cars coming together. This is Michael Andretti's worst nightmare.
What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? Was unintentional. I just lost the front.
I'm gonna punch him. I'm telling you, I'm gonna punch him.
Want you to protect your two teammates up front.
Rossi put me in the hole, so I'm not gonna protect him.
Roshan's a
Told you to protect your teammates, not pass them. You're locked down.
I didn't understand.
You need to hop straight out, Michael. And talk to all 4 drivers in the engineering trailer.
Okay then. Well, the number 2 team, Penske, Joseph Newgarden team, has the chalice of excellence. NBC Sports has come up with something different.
You know, we had to figure out in this boiling pot of a racetrack, in this part of the midseason with all this hate, James, help me reveal this, a Peacock exclusive, the Hate Cauldron. This is the melting pot. This is where all of this tension, we've got an Alex Palou jersey. He's got to play in this. We got Chip Ganassi's team management shirt. We're going to throw that in here. What do you got, James?
Well, I mean, obviously, we just saw what happened in Mid-Ohio. We got a little bit of Grosjean in action in there, and he was coming together with his teammate, Alexander Rossi. You throw all these ingredients nice and spicy into there, Townsend, and then you got to give it a little stir.
Put your hand on there. I don't want to own this exclusively. We're trying this for the first time. We're going to mix it up here at Toronto. Tensions are rising. Drama for sure in just a few minutes' time.
Oh, stay tuned. And remember, there are concrete walls here. There's no runoff room. Alexander Rossi is here to stir the pot for us as well. Oh, fantastic stuff. And it's all going to play out today here on the streets of Toronto. Hey, we've got a way for you to play as well. For IndyCar fans, with the IndyCar Pick'em game on the NBC Sports Predictor app, you can win up to $25,000 by answering a handful of questions this week, including, guys, which team will have the most top 10 finishers?
Oh boy, it's a tough one. A lot of muscle here, but I don't know. Give me Andretti Autosport. You got Rossi, we just saw. Herta starting up front. Their cars look good. Their drivers are aggressive. It's going to be elbows out. Give me the Andretti boys.
Yeah, all 4 of them made it into Q2 for the first time this year, but I'm going to go with Team Penske. They've been on a roll. They're great at this racetrack. I think all 3 of their guys, even with as far back as Will Power is, are going to make it in the top 10.
And remember, sometimes they keep the pits open when it looks like a caution is coming at road courses. You can't really do that on a street course. So danger zone is very much going to be in play today.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Keep your eyes and ears open. These teams might need insurance policies to cover all the eventualities, but you just can't cover it all.
There are some fast guys that are starting beyond mid-pack.
For sure. A lot of guys quick in practice had problems in qualifying. I'm looking at Graham Rahal. I'm looking at Marcus Ericsson. But most importantly, Will Power all the way back in the 20s for the 4th consecutive race outside the top 15 in qualifying.
Great crowd here in Hinch's hometown. Grandstands are sold out. Still some GA tickets, but it is going to be awesome today in Toronto.
From the shores of Lake Ontario, Toronto once again hosting the IndyCar Series on the streets. It's going to be a fantastic day, beautiful day for racing. Let's get things started with pre-race ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise and remove your hats for the presentation of colors by the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 10 Tomorden Color Guard. Please remain standing as Chaplain Jason Holt of IndyCar Ministries offers today's invocation.
Father God, we thank you for the gift of life and to be back in such an incredible city for this amazing event. And so, Father, we thank you for the brave men and women serving both abroad and within our borders, guarding our freedoms. We lift up each one of these drivers, teams, their families, the safety personnel, and these great fans, that your hand of protection might cover us and give us a great and a safe day of racing. But most of all, we say thank you for the hope and love available to all through the cross of Jesus Christ, in whose name I pray. Amen.
Now to sing both the national anthem of the United States of America and the Canadian national anthem, please welcome Ken De Los Santos.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We thank our friends from the north for welcoming us across the border one more time in Toronto, and hopefully for the foreseeable future, a lot of NTT IndyCar Series racing. Hey, race fans, all season long, you have been doing a great job of scanning that QR code you see on your screen right now and entering to win $25,000 from Hy-Vee. Well, don't stop. Do it again. Get that code going and go to HyVeeDeals.com for your chance to win the big prize. More stories from Toronto when we come back.
Weekends are better with MLB Sunday leadoff. Catch my Chicago Cubs and the Philadelphia Phillies with coverage starting next Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern only on Peacock. And right there, earlier today, you might have been watching on Peacock as the Toronto Blue Jays beat the Kansas City Royals. Townsend and I went to the game yesterday, and Pato O'Ward and Felix Rosenquist were there earlier this week. Pato got to throw out the first pitch. And more baseball themes. Scott McLaughlin was at the Cubs game at Wrigley Field earlier this week. And they know how to throw a baseball down under. And then there's another that has had some experience that might be sitting near me. Let's see. Ooh, that's pretty good for the Canadian shortop. That was a good sinker.
Hey,
good sinker.
I was actually on the mound. I don't know if you know, the other guys were in front of the mound, so.
Was that a changeup? What are we working there?
Yeah, it's a slider.
Come on, man.
No, I think they would have offered on that. I think they would have offered. That's a good 0-2 pitch. So much to do here in Toronto, including IndyCar. It's coming up just a few minutes away exclusively today on Peacock. You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Only pay for what you need.
Oh, Canada. It feels so good to finally be back home right here at Exhibition Place. With its crowning Prince's Gates, where legends of the past graze by on their way to victory.
Michael Andretti, 7th win in Toronto.
This is the spot where I dreamt to be an IndyCar driver, like my hero, Greg Moore. Where the feeling of being on the podium at your home race is something I'll never forget.
James Hinchcliffe, the local hero, is going to stand on the podium at home.
This race and this place is and always will be connected with IndyCar. After 3 years, it brings me so much joy to say, welcome back to the Honda Indy Toronto.
There is so much IndyCar history in this city, so many great Canadian fans, and what a wonderful place to be in the summertime. It's about time for IndyCar in Toronto, and so much strategy in play today. Let's start with that as we head to Dylan Welch on the 12 stand. He's with the managing director of Team Penske, Ron Brzezinski.
And he does also call strategy for Will Power. So for the 4th race in a row, these guys are buried deep in this field after some issues in qualifying. So start 16th today. A lot of cars to pass, but what's going to be the toughest part of your job today as you try to navigate Will to the front?
Well, it's a lot tougher race, just trying to see how the tires are going to hang on, and just honestly, there's a lot of attrition in this race. There's a lot of, we've seen a lot of guys in the runoff. So just really keeping our nose clean. And, the good news is, the Verizon Team Penske Chevrolet is quick. So hopefully, we can capitalize on it and move up through the field like we have been.
They are fast, and they have some practice moving forward through the back of the field. That's Ron Rzuski and Will Power, who will start 16th today, Dave Burns.
Dylan, David Malukas is from the big city of Chicago. So what will the big city of Toronto do for him today? Well, it's already been good for him. He is the fastest qualifying rookie on the day, qualifying 5th. But he told me after morning warm-up there's a bit of concern. It was suboptimal this morning. So will he be able to hang with the veterans up front? That's what we'll all begin to see later on today. Dylan?
And Dave Marcus Ericsson starts 9th today. A bit disappointing qualifying effort for them, but current points leader took the blame for not getting everything out of the car he could. Then this morning during warm-up, a little bit more drama as you NBC it here. We've talked so much about how tight this pit road is. This is the kind of thing we have to see and watch out for all day. Thankfully, everybody okay on the 8 crew, as Marcus did make contact with a couple of them, but everybody is healthy. Everybody's ready to go today, and their driver will chase his 3rd win on a street course, but his 1st at Toronto, Dave.
All right, thank you, Dylan. Kevin Lee, Townsend Bell, James Hinchcliffe. Let's go to the front and let's talk about Colton Herta, who's had some rough patches, but he's got a fast car this weekend.
Well, and Colton, such a fast driver. I mean, frankly, right now, nobody faster on road and street circuits over the last 2 years. But the key is, if Colton doesn't stay up front and somehow during the pit stop cycle falls back, he's got to keep a cool head. We've seen a couple instances recently. Nashville, Long Beach, fastest guy on track. Tried a little too hard to get back to the front.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at Graham Rahal in the 15. This RRL crew has had a big resurgence after a test in Sebring. They've been way more competitive than what they've seen so far in qualifying. This guy's got a good chance to move his way up the grid and get the best result of the season.
All right, we're almost ready to fire them up. Let's head downstairs. Drivers are strapped in. We're about ready to go from T.O.
Okay, race fans in Toronto and watching around the world, time for the most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command for the Honda Indy Toronto, please welcome your Grand Marshals, 8-time Juno Award winners and Live Rock authorities, Max Kerman, Mike DeAngelis of Arkells.
Are we nervous? Are we excited? Are we gonna have fun? Drivers, start your engines!
Well done. We'll go for that command. 25 rocket ships are fired up on the streets of Toronto, trying to navigate their way through this tiny little course. It's all coming up on Peacock.
What a magnificent day to go racing in Canada. IndyCar is back in town.
Green flag.
The racing has really ratcheted up at the front. Oh, that's not going to work.
Power just creamed me.
Fire, you're on fire.
Fine.
Simon Pagenaud wins in Toronto.
That was a head on car. What a good race. What a good job. Thank you, everyone.
The NTT IndyCar Series is back in Canada for the first time since 2019, and it's time for the Honda Indy Toronto. Thanks for joining us today exclusively on Peacock with NBC Sports, and it's time to find out how they're going to start with the Honda starting grid.
Honda's up front, Herta and Dixon. Dixon with an excellent qualifying effort. He has a great race car. It'll be fun to watch those two duke it out in turn 1.
Like to see David Malukas up there in the top 6, and Christian Lundgaard, another rookie, getting his best start, as well as Devlin DiFrancesco in his first crack at his home race. Career best for him alongside Andretti Autosport teammate Grosjean.
But look back at row 8. Pato O'Ward and Will Power, two very fast drivers with two very disappointing qualifying results. They'll be pushing forward.
And Simon Pagenaud, your reigning winner here in Toronto, all the way back on the outside of row 9, not where he wants to be, but still in a better spot than our reigning champion, Alex Palou, after his technical and mechanical issues in qualifying.
Now let's look at the Honda track preview. How do you make your way through this place?
Carefully, but with aggression. Does that make any sense? On board here with Colton Herta, thanks to Honda, 11 turns in total. As we said at the Open, over the last 4 IndyCar races here, no driver more successful than the one sitting next to me. James, take us around. What are the tricks to master this place?
Well, the advice I got from Michael Andretti, a 7-time winner when I first started driving for him, was be comfortable being uncomfortable. The surface changes here are so tricky. Down into turn 8, I think you cross 7 different patches of
concrete, asphalt, old, new, there's manhole covers, there's repairs, there's bumps. Just look at what these drivers are dealing with. It's never going to feel great, Townsend. It's all about kind of managing what you've got and compromising on setup.
This is the Baja 1000 of street circuits. A lot of bumps, 8 different surfaces we counted, 11 turns in total, and very unforgiving off track, Kevin.
Well, Hinch knows his way certainly through this place. Last 4 IndyCar races here, 2 podiums, and an average finish of 4th. Nobody in IndyCar is any better. Townsend's won here in Indy Lights and had some moments as well.
So we're up here for bad behavior? I don't know. I mean, we should be on track, right,
Hang on
James?
a minute. Let's throw a couple more. There's room enough in pit lane for 2 more cars, right?
Let's go.
Well, there is not a lot of room on this race course to make your way through it. They're coming towards turn 7 and that twisty section going by pit lane of 8, 9, 10. Soon they need to get started to line up. You've got a pair of Hondas up front. You've got championship contenders near the front. You've got people angry with other people. You've got people that don't know who they're driving for next year, all to play out today. IndyCar is back in Canada for the first time since 2019. It's the Honda Indy Toronto. Herta, Dixon, Newgarden, Rossi. Here we go from Tio. Herta controls the field. That black and yellow car is on the inside. Driver's right. Dixon is going to duck right in behind. Newgarden takes a look. Nothing there. Rossi trying to sweep around the outside.
3 wide behind him. You can go 2 by 2 here. Will Power trying to make moves like we saw at the beginning of Mid-Ohio. He manages to keep it going as they filter through turn 2. A little bit of contact in the back.
Up front, though, Scott McLaughlin in that yellow and white Penske car looking outside as they come to the brake zone of turn 3, and it looks like there's a damaged car. It might be Sato all the way back.
It is Sato side by side, 2 wide, some teammate action here. The Meyer-Shank car's nose to tail, but it is still Herta up front as Rossi defends against Scott McLaughlin. Is under pressure from Malukas.
McLaughlin got Malukas. McLaughlin picks up a spot. Callum Eilert has held off Marcus Ericsson for the moment.
What is damaged? What do we need to look at? We're done.
That might be the spotter for Takuma Sato. There's Roman Grosjean stuffing it in. Ray Hall and his teammate Harvey almost got together. There is opportunity everywhere, but it is treacherous on these opening laps. I think VK just got into the wall.
This is a very slippery part of the racetrack, the last 3 corners. That's a single groove side for sure. It's aggressive defending from Jack Harvey on, that's Simon Pagenaud there, who's made the move stick. Great action in the first couple laps here. Spotters, and here, wow, he's made it all the way around from turn 2, but that is that's a terminal failure, guys.
Just FYI, Takuma, that might be the end of the day. You might want to just pull that one off track. On board here with O'Ward in turn 1. There's the contact initially that pushed Sato wide.
And then 3 wide through turn 2. It was Palou on the inside of Pato O'Ward. We're on board with Palou now. You can see the McLaren beside him. Just no room for 3 cars there, certainly.
Threading the needle was Alex Palou. Let's see what happened. I think Sato just got pushed off by O'Ward and ran out of road there.
And the caution flag, I believe, is waving, I imagine, for debris on the racetrack, because that was quite a bit of carbon fiber and metal coming off the left front of that Dale Coyne Racing with Wickware Racing machine.
It looks like just a wishbone cover, but those are carbon fiber usually.
So it's been a rough season for Takuma Sato, starting 19th in this one today. Has not had a whole lot of success in his first year with Dale Coyne Racing. Let's see it again.
So a bit of a hip check there from Pagenaud, I think, and then maybe just when O'Ward was going wide, perhaps that just forced Sato, really had nowhere to go. Just getting beat up on the outside, along with his race car. Maybe that's fixable, but it looks like it would be a challenge, as now cars are picking up some of that Sato debris. McLaughlin trying to avoid that piece of carbon. So easy to cut a tire on that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, Townsend. That's you're going to be so far down at this point, but at the same time, yeah, we see them removing Takuma from the car, so for sure that one's. I
mean, to be fair, as a driver, you don't know for sure. So if you're going to err on the side of optimism, get back to pit lane, let the pros on your team investigate. And Sato, unfortunately, must be so frustrating.
So under caution, Limited interruptions today. We'll sneak away for just a moment and we'll have a restart coming up on Peacock. You're watching Peacock's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Honda, an official vehicle of the NTT IndyCar Series. United Rentals, official equipment rental service of IndyCar and Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. And by NTT, official sponsor and technology partner of the NTT IndyCar Series. Kevin Lee, James Hinchcliffe, Townsend Bell, Dylan Welch, Dave Burns. Caution number 1, Takuma Sato out. We're going to go green again. Herta, Dixon, Newgarden, Rossi. That's the way they started. McLaughlin has picked up a spot. He's running in 5th. Then Malukas, Rosenquist, Eilon, Eriksson, and Newgarden. Back to green in Toronto. Great restart by Colton Herta.
It's Alexander Rossi, maybe the closest one to have some threat into turn 1 as we see Felix Rosenquist on the inside of David Malukas, and he makes that stick.
Oh, the rookie Malukas, brilliant qualifying job, but they're chewing him up a little bit on forcing the issue in terms of getting by, but it looks like Malukas is going to have a go now. He's up in the seat, looking to the outside of turn 3.
And it can get done on the outside of turn 3, certainly, as the track comes back to the left after the corner for turn 4, but it looks like Felix is going to hold that position as Will Power side by side with Grosjean. He's up to 12th already, guys. Will Power is plus 4 spots already from where he qualified. Wow.
Once again, Will Power making moves. He tried to force it on Grosjean on the start, I think, in turn 1. They had some contact, but now it's settled in, and Power is going forward just like he did at Mid-Ohio to get on the podium.
Despite qualifying outside the top 15 4 straight times for the first time ever, he'd never had it happen to him 3 times. He's still second in the championship, just 20 behind Marcus Ericsson.
Here's what I was talking about. Watch Power just send it up the inside here of Jack Harvey, and then he's going to clip Grosjean.
Just like Mid-Ohio, but he got away without the spin there. So close to collecting the wall on the inside. Man, he is dodging bullets left, right, and center this year.
Saw Alex Palou there in the NTT data car with a little wiggle and surviving through that as well.
You know, and it's that contact and checkup for the rest of the field behind that probably led to the chaos that put Takuma Sato out, right? Everybody a little uncertain. They fan out. Sato, the victim on the outside.
It is so tight through there through turn 2 on that first lap. And now Joseph Newgarden defending against Alexander Rossi, charging hard. I know Rossi was a little disappointed with only being 4th on the grid. Teammate Colton Herta up on pole position. He thought he had enough for a front row start, certainly, and he is definitely in full attack mode going after the Penske driver.
So, Kevin, a 2-stop strategy likely for pretty much every car. So the deal is here for Herta, for Dixon, for Newgarden. The moment you think you're losing the red tires and they're falling off the grip cliff, you come to pit lane because the pit windows are very wide. You can go about 35 laps on a tank of fuel. So around lap 15, 16, you're good. So it's up to the driver to decide, am I really losing pace or can I hang on a little bit more?
By the way, we saw 3 come in and top off during that caution. Kirkwood, Daly, and Kellett, so they're running at the back.
And that definitely makes a lot of sense for Kirkwood, who's on those primary tires. Only 6 drivers started on the black sidewall primaries. They're going to try to go as long as possible as these alternate red sidewall tires start to fall off. As you say, Townsend, 15 laps in here, they might be able to make up a little bit of ground.
Yeah, you only do that if you just don't feel like you've got the pace to do it straight up. So you're trying to luck your way in a little bit, hope there's a ton of yellow, and you might make this thing on, I don't know, 1 stop. It's unlikely.
Well, starting back where Kyle Kirkwood did after his troubles in qualifying, you got to roll the dice. You got to do something different than the cars in front of you.
Let's go on board.
Sorry, doing.
I was going to say, let's go on board with Grosjean. Everybody can appreciate just how physical a lap is around Toronto. The Firestone telemetry is going to help us out lower left-hand side. Watch the shifting, watch the throttle indecision as you ride the bumps and trying to find the grip.
He's got a little run. Will he send it? To the outside, nearly side by side with Power, but Power has the position.
That's what got Grosjean in trouble in Mid-Ohio with his teammates. Here he's got a fierce competitor in Power who shoved him out of the way, but Grosjean backing out, I think, wisely.
Yeah, I wonder if he's been a little gun-shy about outside moves since the Mid-Ohio clash with Alexander Rossi, but discretion getting the better part of valor on that one. And this early in the stint, everyone's tires are still pretty good. But Dylan Welsh, what do you have down in pit lane for us?
Well, we've maybe got some more teammate-on-teammate drama here in the early laps. Listen into Grosjean's radio.
It's quite hard on the right-hand side in turn 1, and then got pushed wide, but they've lost spots. which I'm not very impressed with. But the biggest problem is any damage on the car on the right.
Yeah. So, yeah, close quarters racing already, and temper's already hot.
Yeah, that would have been the contact we saw with Will Power on the right-hand side of his car, and then claims Devlin pushed him down a little bit.
Welcome to the cauldron, Devlin.
We chatted with him this week, and he said, yeah, that meeting was, Michael Andretti, you see there, was pretty pointed, but luckily I wasn't involved. I just sat there and listened, and I knew I didn't do anything wrong in this circumstance.
Talked to a few Andretti team members who have worked on that race team for 10, 15, 20 years. They have never seen Michael Andretti as upset as he was after the last race. And he had reason to be fired up. It was chaos between his 4 drivers. Contact in multiple cases, zero respect given.
And Romain Grosjean and Alexander Rossi have talked. They, I guess, agreed to disagree. Rossi basically said, I'm not going to change anything about my driving. I will drive people the way I'm driven. Dave, the championship leader, is in.
He is on pit road now. He'll get those primaries off of his car, and he will go with the, alternates off, primaries on for Alex Palou.
I think that's a great move for Palou. We call it the dumpster dive. It's jumping in there and looking for opportunity, taking a bit of a gamble. You can make it on one more stop, get off those reds, and hope that the pace really falls apart for everybody that stays out here.
And now a yellow saves him, right? At this point, anyone on the reds would take it if it comes out. He would cycle to the front. Basically, this is what they did in Mid-Ohio to great effect. Took them from 7th up to 2nd. Should have been first had that yellow not come out.
I'm surprised that we don't see more. Maybe from Lundgaard on back, we should see guys start to jump in now and cover on that strategy. You don't want to get unlucky if you get lucky with a yellow by pitting early.
Now that he's done it, I bet we're going to see other drivers start to take it even on this lap.
So far, nobody in.
Well, I'm with you, Townsend. These guys have taken a big swing at it. It's great. He's got clean track, clear air.
And this could be the yellow. Grosjean looking to come back on Will Power. Will Power looked like he pulled away, but Grosjean has a great run coming out of turn 2 if he can stay in the draft and pop out on the brakes.
A lot of push to pass being used by both these guys already.
Here it comes. Send it, send it.
To the inside, Grosjean has got a nose ahead. He's got it done. Grosjean and Power now is going to have to try to be able to fend off Rahal behind him.
It's tough into turn 5, especially on those primary tires. Graham thinks better of it, stays in lockstep, but a great move from Grosjean on the inside of Will Power there.
Terrific move and terrific car control on the brakes on the dirty side of the racetrack. Grosjean clearly dealing with great balance and a lot of confidence right now. His very first time on the streets of Toronto. Here comes some divers.
Let's look again at Grosjean going to the inside.
And Will Power's already burned 161 of his 200 seconds of push to pass defending. Both drivers all over the button right here. Just didn't cover it quite enough. Grosjean was definitely within striking distance. Gave lots of room there as we see Simon Pagano in the pits.
He is on pit road. He'll put the primaries on as well. And Hinch, one of the things for him was all weekend long, he'd been complaining about the back end of that race car not being great. For the first time this morning, after warm-up, he said, we finally got that corrected. And you saw the early aggressive moves he was making. Maybe the most recent winner here in Toronto still has a shot if he can get the strategy to work.
Well, he's definitely trying to make the same strategy work as the 10 car. You see him in the background. They started in different parts of the grid. Alex a little further back, but both guys rolling the dice a little bit here.
How about this kid? Colton Herta opening up the gap, 1.6 seconds now, Dave. Colton has clean air and a clean racetrack in front of him.
And what a qualifying run, Townsend, he had, his second pole of the season. And one of the questions coming for this Andretti driver after Mid-Ohio, we see Will Power on pit road as he'll make his stop, was what about code words? Because that is the one thing that got this driver on the bottom of the screen in trouble at Mid-Ohio. And so we asked if he was going to change the code word system this weekend. He said, nope, we just made a mistake. We're sticking with code words. The leader of the race, not sure when he'll come in yet, but you've seen more on and off of pit road.
This is where you got to start thinking about the insurance policy, James. You've got a quick car in Malukas, quick car in Will Power. You see Palou on the same strategy, just beat Will Power out.
That just shows you how powerful that undercut really is. Power was running up in, what, 12th position. Palou starting down in 21st, and he's now ahead of him on track, and he'll continue to extend that gap over the course of this outlook.
As Power had traffic, Palou got out of the traffic, found clean air, made it work. So nice call from the 10 crew, but how much fuel is Palou going to have to save relative to Power? Now Callum Ilot's on pit lane.
Saw Malukas come in as well. It's really starting to come down, Dylan.
Indeed, here comes Callum Ilott. They'll take the reds off and put the blacks on, it appears. And Callum said they've been fast, but didn't really know how they were going to be on the reds. Blacks going on. He felt much better on the black tires with a front wing change as well for the 77.
The only single car team in the paddock continues to impress. Qualifying 7th yesterday, Callum Ilott, Hukos Hollinger Racing. They are quick.
The other thing this does is it allows you to pit without anybody in front, anybody in back. If the leaders come in as a group on this tight pit lane, could be some more chaos.
Remember, Romain Grosjean was not happy with Devlin DeFrancesco just a few moments ago. He's caught up to him.
I think he said he wasn't particularly impressed.
Okay, thank you.
Being a little more political about it maybe than a couple weeks ago at Mid-Ohio. But yeah,
French-Canadian relations.
You could say that, but Devlin's going to dive into the pits and give Grosjean a little bit of clean track here, so we'll keep track of how these two cycle back out after Grosjean makes his stop, but Dylan's down there with the 29.
And same story here. Dev will get the reds off and put the black tires on, trying to continue a strong weekend here for the hometown kid, DeFrancesco. Jack Harvey in behind him as well. He's got Takuma Sato's wounded race car in front of him here that he's going to have to go around, and it looks like maybe a slower stop as well on Harvey. They had to put him back up on the jacks.
Something didn't go right there. Maybe they dropped him without having the right front tight or something, but that is a painful several seconds lost during green flag conditions. As you see the pit stop time there, 13.9. You'd want to see 7.5 in a situation like that.
Offline for a piece of fabric.
It's really just not quite gone Jack Harvey's way this weekend. We talked at the top of the show about how this team, after a test at Sebring, really found something for their street course car, Townsend, as we see some debris offline here on the racetrack. Looks like a rag or something. But yeah, Jack Harvey didn't have the same sort of pace in qualifying as Christian Lundgaard. Look at that.
That looks like Dylan's hoodie from last night at dinner.
Marcus Ericsson, Dylan, is in.
He is, and they'll make a tire change as well. Black tires going on for him. Big emphasis on the tire changers in these early stops to make sure they get it done right, because they don't need a full load of fuel. Grosjean in and out as well. He put blacks on.
I think at this point, everyone's breathing a sigh of relief that there are green flag stops, Hinch. This would be treacherous if everyone came on pit road together during a yellow.
Looking for any blend battle here. Here comes DeFrancesco and Will Power. Grosjean on cold tires in turn 1. There should be some action going to 3 on the backstretch.
Will Power on hot tires. He pit a few laps ago. Devlin DeFrancesco fresh out of the pit lane. You're going to see Will Power on the overtake button now, trying to capitalize on those cold tires on Dev's car.
Grosjean gave a speech about how teammates should respect each other. See what he does here.
Good job by Devlin on the brakes there on cold tires, keeping Will Power behind him right now, but it's going to be tight going into turn 5.
DeFrancesco might want to pick it up because Will Power is charging and going to take a look inside of 5.
Man, that's a risky move.
He backed out of it. DeFrancesco, one of the 7 that have never raced here before in IndyCar. Even the fact that this is his hometown track. He's from Toronto, and he had his best qualifying performance in his rookie IndyCar season of 12th.
Now, this is not what Will Power wants to see right now on this strategy. He wanted as much clean racetrack as he possibly could, and it's not quite working out with these Andretti Autosport cars in front of him, Dylan.
A couple more pit stops. Joseph Newgarden was in, and Alexander Rossi, both back-to-back on pit road. Both of them took the reds off, put the black tires on. We'll see where they blend.
So those are the first 2 of the front runners to come in.
Oh, side by side with David Malukas and Joseph Newgarden in turn 3 there.
Man, if I'm Colton Herta here, Dixon, I'm watching this from the pit stand saying, come to the pit box now. You cannot afford a yellow to come out right now.
Yeah, you're comfortably within the window. You're not going to have to save much fuel, Dave, if you come in now. And here's Scott Dixon.
Yep, he will give up the position, put on the primaries as well, started on the reds. And so for Dixon, a nice run to P2 in qualifying. Wasn't particularly happy that he didn't get pole because he was awful close.
Christian Lundgaard, you see him at the top of your screen carrying the torch so far for Rahal Letterman Landing and Racing. Service complete. He'll head back out.
Guys, David Malukas is hounding a two-time IndyCar champion driving a Penske car right now. Look at this awesome race battling on between the 2 and the 18.
The 20-year-old from Chicago, David Malukas with Dale Coyne Racing and HMP, his family's trucking company, continues to impress. Hey, there are potential job openings at big teams next year, and a lot of people are talking about guys like David Malukas and Callum Ilott.
Comes Marcus Ericsson making a move there on Dalton Kellett. But yeah, Malukas, he passed the test on the Reds. There's Colton Herta. That should be a sigh of relief for the 26 boys. Dave, Colton Herta, the pole sitter on pit lane.
Colton Herta was asked no changes or no changes, and he said no changes. There's the code, so this will be, I have no idea. But the primaries are going on. The Firestone Reds are coming off right in front of him. Scott McLaughlin pits as well. Strong run for him this weekend. Did well in qualifying, better than he thought, and doing great in the race.
And that is bad luck for Colton Herta, having the car in front of you come in and pit. You saw how slow he was getting away. That's definitely costing him time, as Scott Dixon capitalizes on the cold tires down into turn 1.
Dixon on hot tires, as you said, James, and this is where Colton has to settle in. Don't try to do something too big, too bold, and make the mistakes that we saw at Nashville and Long Beach. Here they come to 3.
And then right behind him, Newgarden is trying to get through Kyle Kirkwood. That's moving his way essentially through traffic. Kirkwood is off strategy.
He came in under that yellow, so he's going to go a bit longer. David Malukas followed him through there in turn 5. Decisive move from David Malukas, who also right now, guys, has the fastest lap of the race so far.
Malukas doing a great job, essentially running 4th with the leader strategies right now.
We saw Felix Rosenquist, who's been running up, started in 8th, and he's pitted, Dave.
Don't be fooled. There are orange decals on those Firestone primary black tires as you look at the outside. And you roll off with Felix, who's having a fantastic weekend so far. I tried to tell everyone in the world, hey, I'm at McLaren next year. I know that. I belong in the IndyCar series.
Yeah, he's really making a statement for that as he goes side by side with Kirkwood into 1. That's going to open the door for McLaughlin now on the run down to 3, Townsend.
Rosenquist, cold tires, trying to stay online. Look at the marbles that have built up everywhere. That's why Rosenquist really wants to stay there. There's that hoodie popping up on the back straightaway. Going to fan out too wide. Kirkwood on the outside.
And that impacted things because I think Ericsson might have taken a look at McLaughlin, but Kirkwood was essentially a pick.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Felix Rosenquist, that's Billy Vincent on his team because he has essentially picked up track position right there.
Yeah, and survived the outlap so far. Callum Ilott now rookie looking to make a move on rookie Kirkwood as well. Meanwhile, that's Simon Pagenaud sticking it up the inside in turn 8.
And Pelot's going to go through as well. He just got pushed too wide, did Callum Ilott, gave Pelot the opportunity, he took it. You see some debris, Townsend, flying off the front wing there. It was that shirt that we saw that came off of Harvey's car. It's hooked around the front wing adjuster on the tent.
I was just going to ask, how did the hoodie get from turn 1 to the backstretch? I'd say Pelot's front wing for a while.
You can see how the car's so loose through that concrete patch there, just sliding all over. This track is just so difficult. Side by side, Alexander Rossi and David Malukas. Rossi gets the position.
That is Rossi holding, no, going forward. So that's the battle for 4th again on the leader strategy right now with Ray Hall, VK Award yet to pit.
Jimmy Johnson has cycled up to 4th. He has yet to pit. Connor Daly right behind him is one of those that ducked in on lap number 3, but Daly has done the best of those, being able to maybe make something out of it.
Guys, a couple of drivers have been very trigger happy with their push to pass as Callum Ilott goes to the inside.
Callum Ilott has wing damage. The left front wing for Callum Ilott is broken and dragging on the racetrack. Despite that, he is still making moves forward.
Hey guys, we saw PT lose half of his front wing one year here at Toronto and pull away at the front of the field. So that doesn't always mean something. Kellett slow, and looks like Grosjean going around him.
You see the wing damage there from Callum Ilott.
Sorry, Townsend, they've had some fuel pump issues this weekend in the 4 car. Dylan.
It's interesting talking with Callum as you see the damage, or we talk about the damage there. He told me this morning, he said, I just got to take what I can get from this car, not force anything. I learned my lesson at Barber when we were so strong over in the weekend. As you see a lock up there, that's not what he needs either.
Wonder if that wing damage contributed, Townsend, but he's done the best job of that pirouette from all the people we've seen in that runoff through practice.
Such a great example, though, the sensitivity of downforce. You have front wing damage, you get to the brake zone, You don't have as much as downforce on the front axle. Your brake bias is then off for what you need. That's how Callum Ilott locked up. Meanwhile, Graham Rahal sucked up that hoodie again on the back straightaway. By the end of this thing, that hoodie's going to do a full lap at Toronto. You're going to have to put him on the stats.
So Graham Rahal is one of those playing the long game on this first stint. That potentially opens up some options for him a little later. That means a red tire run towards the end won't need to be as long. You can even kind of look at where Rahal will come through. Lose about 22 seconds on pit lane, so it can be a bit of a net gain for Rahal, who started in 14th. Actually, that's about where he'd come out.
More power here on the inside of Dalton Kellett.
Tiny bit of right front lockup, but release the pedal. Graham Rahal, meanwhile, hustling at the lead, going to stretch this thing as long as he can.
And you know what, with the clean track, why not? I mean, you're definitely exposed to the yellow right now, but it seems like most of the chaos from the pit cycle has passed, and now Graham's just trying to clock off these fast laps. He started on the primary. He needs to make them go as long as possible so that his red stint can be as short as possible.
And here's the deal. Look at the gap between Rahal and Colton Herta. 15 seconds. Time lost on pit lane,
about 23.
So that's the gap that Graham needs to achieve. He's going to hustle, head down here, click off as much as he can in clean air, and he's going to have clean air for a long time. So it's totally possible. If Graham can keep up the pace, Dylan, he might be in good shape.
Well, and that's what they're telling him. They just said his lap times were a lot better than everybody else's who had already pitted because they were mired in traffic. So he's got to go here to extend that gap, like you said, as big as it can be before they come down here, and then they'll put the reds on. But he wants this to go for a while here to try to make that gap grow even further.
Graham Rahal with the United Rentals on board, so he has picked up some position.
Box.
And there's the call.
Just overtake.
So we'll have to see where he pops out. I would think right around his teammate Christian Lundgaard, depending on how the stop goes.
But remember, several of those between him and 14 also still need to pit, so I think it's going to be a net gain from 14th. He's going to be legitimately probably 8th or 9th or 10th.
For sure, the top 4 cars on track yet to pit. First car on track that's been to pit lane, Scott Dixon, who essentially took the on-strategy lead from Colton Herta during that pit sequence, doing the undercut, pitting earlier, running fast, and getting around Colton as he came out of the pit lane. You see Graham Rahal all over overtake, trying to get that in-lap as fast as possible.
He was one of those that felt he was very disadvantaged with the timing of a red flag in qualifying, and the starting position not indicative of what they have. Dylan, here he comes.
And remember, at Mid-Ohio, they kind of did a similar off-strategy style of pit call, similar to what Will Power did. It advanced him 6 positions, so they're trying the off-strategy again here as the sticker reds go on. Front wing change. We'll see where Graham Rahal is able to blend in here, but it's been a good day so far and a net gain for sure at this point in the race.
And a great pit stop, 7 seconds.
Right behind the 30 car, but go hard.
As you hear that, he's going to fall in behind the 30 car. That's his teammate, Christian Lundgaard, but he's got those sticker reds. He needs to try to make hay with them right now.
His teammate is well behind. He might have heard 30 car, but no, he's ahead. He's got Pagenaud here on board. Let's watch this. Pagenaud on hot tires, Graham on cold tires. This will really show you a great view of how hard it is to stay ahead in the first few corners. Oh, Pagenaud's on the limiter.
Yeah, a little bit under geared, it looks like. I'm not sure why Graham gave him the inside there. He had plenty of time to cover there based on how late he went in. I don't think Pagenaud would have got around him on the outside, so.
2 more cars that haven't pitted yet. This is Rinus VeeKay and Pato O'Ward duking it out.
Both of these guys on the primary, they want to go as long as they can. Pato O'Ward having a difficult weekend so far, not quite able to match the pace of his teammate. Locked up on his red tire run in practice. Didn't get it done in qualifying the way he wanted. He was frustrated as we watch the Firestone telemetry down the back straight, down Lakeshore Boulevard, climbing the speed charts, 175, 180 miles an hour.
Copy.
The arrow on board with Pato O'Ward right on the rear wing of Rinus VeeKay. Not close enough here. Pato O'Ward has had 2 miserable weekends. Fast cars, but mechanicals, no fault of his own. Potentially a win taken away at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, heartbreaking result for this entire team in Mid-Ohio. Both him and Felix Rosenquist had great races going before mechanical issues sidelined them.
And this has to be a little frustrating for O'Ward and his team on the box, in that it looks like O'Ward would be quicker if he had clean air. In order to make this tire strategy work, like Graham Rahal was working on, you need that clean racetrack to put the pace down.
There's no doubt being able to kind of stay within that half-second bubble. He's definitely got more pure pace than Rinus VeeKay at the moment, so not quite going to plan for the 5 car, but it's not over yet. Callum Ilott lurking in the background there, still recovering from that wing damage. So unfortunate. Another promising weekend for those guys, sort of coming unraveled.
So he's a lap down, but when those two pit, he'll get that lap back, or he'll be kind of at the tail end of the lead lap. The mission on board with Felix Rosenquist continuing.
I'll give you freedom to go to 2 if you can use it.
To make a case that he belongs in IndyCar next year. Jimmy Johnson we see there in the Carvana car, one of those that still needs to pit. Running 5th right now.
6 or 7 more.
6 or 7 more. That's a healthy first stint.
Yeah, but that'll get him to about lap 35, which we think is a reasonable full stint, especially on the black tires. But Jimmy Johnson hanging in there pretty well here.
So how is that going to impact those behind him? Jimmy's not as quick as Newgarden and Rossi and Malukas and some of those others that are thinking about podium.
Jimmy and Connor Daly. Jimmy and Connor Daly. Connor Daly, another car that's struggled a bit for pace this weekend, are in between Dixon and Herta, and then 3rd place Newgarden. So for Newgarden right now, the number 2 Hitachi car and Alexander Rossi just behind him. Probably some urgency growing to get by these 2 cars and get back into the mix of the battle for the win.
And Townsend, Herta has been given that information up ahead of you. Here's what's happening. Here's why they're being slowed down. How important is that if you got a fast car like Colton to just know you can't see quite that far ahead?
Well, you want to know the big picture and where you run and what you need to do before the last stop that'll come, as you see a replay of O'Ward finally getting by Rinus VeeKay down in turn 3.
And this is what needs to happen, because those guys were running around in the 102s, but Dixon and Herta behind them, who they're racing with on strategy, down in the mid-101s.
O'Ward coming from way back, Kevin. That was good.
Yeah, look at the gap he's already pulled out, over a second in just a couple corners. So now he really needs to put the hammer down. He needs to make this stint as long as possible, increase that gap as best he can, because right now he's still coming out probably in the high teens if he were to pit right now.
Pato O'Ward started back in 15th. Callum Ilott is going to get around Rinus VeeKay to help his cause a little bit. Limited interruptions. Back in just a moment. Thanks for joining us today on Peacock. You're watching Peacock's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Hub International, proud official insurance brokerage provider of Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. Hub International, helping you be ready for tomorrow. Liberty Mutual Insurance, only pay for what you need. And by Hy-Vee. Throughout the race season, HyVeeDeals.com provides a chance to win $25,000. HyVeeDeals.com, proud sponsor of the number 45 car. Kevin Lee, Townsend Bell, James Hinchcliffe, Dave Burns, Dylan Welch at Toronto, and Rinus VeeKay is in, Dylan.
And they were one of the 6 cars that started on black, so he'll go to the sticker red tires here. Another front wing change to compensate for that, and we'll see how many spots or how much time VeeKay can make up on the softer tires.
Look at that
Ward is still out there.
That train of cars, guys. This thing is not spread out at all. This group is all running competitive lap times. Will Power's going to clear VeeKay easily into one here.
Here comes Castro Neves behind VeeKay. Smoke for Dalton Kellett. Chevy-powered car. They've struggled with a few issues so far this weekend. Had fuel delivery problems. You can hear it sputtering now. Hopefully not oil on the racetrack.
Slow, no throttle. Slow, no throttle.
Look at
Coaster back here, buddy. Keep it down low. Stay offline, please.
Smart move from the 5 crew to get Pato O'Ward into the pit lane, Dave.
And by rule, as you guys know, one set of Firestone Reds that are fresh, not scuffed, have to be used during the race. So he will get the primaries off that he started on. He will put those Reds on now, and Pato will continue on. Been a frustrating weekend for him. He was out-qualified by 7 positions by Felix Rosenquist. Just didn't have speed in the car, he kept saying. Hopefully he's found some more this afternoon.
Good stop from the McLaren crew. Always been good in pit lane. A little over 7 seconds. He slots in behind Grosjean.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really gained there so far. Pato O'Ward started 15th, Grosjean in 15th. So he goes pretty far back, does O'Ward.
I think he's going to pick up a few spots. There's still a few that are off sequence. And advantage right here, big time for Scott Dixon and Colton Herta, because Newgarden, Rossi, Rosenquist, and the others are behind Johnson and Daly, who are not.
I mean, you only have Johnson and Daly, so everybody else is going to make one more stop, including Pato O'Ward. So puts him back on the same strategy as everybody else. He did the long first stint. He's probably going to do the shorter second stint, but looking for opportunity. Spending that time behind VK didn't help.
Remember, Scott Dixon has not won this year. Scott Dixon has won in each of the last 17 seasons, and he has been, since early last season, on the brink of tying Mario Andretti for 52 wins, second most all-time in IndyCar. Might today be the day for Dixon.
And isn't it interesting the difference, James, between Dixon's pace on blacks versus Colton's pace on reds? Dixon seems to have the advantage. As we go back to 2013 and look at Dixon in race one of a doubleheader, took them both that weekend.
Deja vu all over again for Dixon on the double here in Toronto. And then again, when Joseph Newgarden had his problems coming to a restart while leading in 2018, got in the marbles, found the wall. Dixon inherited the lead and took the win for his third cup here in Toronto.
And he maybe could have had four. He's one of those that was on the way to a win when a yellow came out at the wrong time for him. So watch for them to get in when the window opens. Dave.
And of course, a great qualifying run for him yesterday, second to the car right behind him, Colton Herta. And I asked the team about that. I said, so was he happy about that? And you all can imagine the six-time champion who likes everything to perfection in that 9 car was a little disappointed at second. Yeah, he was on the front row. Yeah, he was going to start where he needed to be, but a little disappointed. And we can see, of course, what has happened. The cut that they made to overtake Herta happened in the pit sequence, so they've got Scott right where he wants to be.
Not only that, look at what will be third place Joseph Newgarden once Connor Daly pits. Because Daly and Johnson stayed out, went long, it's put Newgarden 12, 13 seconds behind Colton Herta. So the gap from second to third, huge by those alternate strategies, mixing things up.
They need a yellow to get this gap back up. If there's not a yellow, it's a race between Dixon and Herta.
Don't you worry, Kevin. This is Toronto. This is Toronto, and the cauldron is spicy today. There will be action, and I think almost certainly you'll see a yellow before this thing's over.
I mean, technically we did have one already, so we continue the streak of never having a caution-free race here in the streets of Toronto. But, man, Palou having to defend a couple times this lap, I've noticed, from Christian Lundgaard.
The Hub International on board of Christian Lundgaard, one of the many impressive rookies working on the defending champion Alex Palou, who's, yes, had quite a bit of turmoil in the last week.
In the last week, the last 24 hours.
And one of the reasons that a yellow gets more and more likely is because frustration grows. If you're not having a great day like Pato O'Ward, he's like, man, we were at the front, we stayed out, but I'm still 15th. He's got to make something happen now. The chances that people take get bigger and bigger. O'Ward sending it inside of Grosjean.
My God, we saw him make a late move on Rinus VeeKay. That was just as late, if not later, on Romain Grosjean, went sailing by him.
The other thing that happens, James, every lap the marble's bigger and bigger, so when you go too wide, the risk you're taking of getting onto a dirty part of the racetrack and running out of road into the wall continues to increase as well.
By the way, any advantage Jimmy Johnson might have picked up by staying out long is going to go away. Pit speed penalty, he has a drive-through.
Yeah, Connor Daly in the pits now, so he'll drop towards the back of this lead lap field too.
So not only does Pato O'Ward have newer tires, they are the Firestone Reds. He picked quite a bit later. So Dylan, what can you tell us about Romain Grosjean?
Well, he is going backwards as he got disposed of there by Pato O'Ward. He rides in 14th right now. Here is some radio conversation about the tires on the 28 car.
What do you think tire-wise?
Gonna have to be black. Nobody else is able to make the red comes. We're just gonna have to put front wing with it, try to make it stick, but nobody else is able to make the red walks.
So he talks about having to put some front wing into it. Romain Grosjean's been complaining of understeer really all weekend long on the setup of his Andretti Autosport car. So when they come in for that next set of primaries, you'll see the crew guys on the front tires. After they make those changes, they'll screw the front wing in. That raises the front wing flap, essentially moving the center of pressure, the amount of downforce on the front of the car forward.
I'll tell you what, Felix Rosenquist is having a great day running in 5th right now, all over the back of Alexander Rossi. Qualified well ahead of his teammate. Was fast at Mid-Ohio, got unlucky with a powertrain issue, but Rosenqvist looks like in the middle of this stint, Dave, he is on pace big time.
Remember, with all the drama that's been happening around him at McLaren, he said, I am okay because they've already told me I'm racing next year. I don't know where yet, but all that happened around me. He said, I use it like a trigger. That's the trigger for me to go. As you see him working on the back of the 27 car right there, almost got by Rossi, but pushing now, and a trigger for any driver, Townsend, even if it's something negative on the one side, can be something motivating you forward.
Yeah, well, think about this. 12 laps about till we should see the last stop, and for Rosenqvist to be so strong in the second half of the tire life will bode really well. If that guy can get himself into some clean air, I think he's definitely on for a podium.
The Geico aerial here may give us a good look at Felix Rosenqvist taking a run by the time they get to turn 3 the next time on Alexander Rossi. Rossi got through there pretty well, though.
And that's an important corner to be able to get a good run, avoid the pass opportunity into turn 1, hopefully keep that gap down the back straightaway here. Grosjean a little Rubbins racing with Rinus VeeKay there, side by side, tire smoke coming off. Very common to see that through turn 3 and 4, Townsend.
Yeah, it gave him a little bit of a fade in the brake zone of turn 3 and only seems to be stoking the fire for Rinus VeeKay. See Grosjean looking in his mirror there pretty clearly, trying to judge where VeeKay's car is, give him maybe just enough room, but now VeeKay trying to push his way through. No damage that appears to hurt the pace of those two, but this battle far from over.
I'm not a racing driver or qualified to judge anything, but that's going to be added to that mixtape at the end of the year of all the side-by-side contact for the 28.
Here it comes.
And VeeKay coming back and getting the spot. Is Grosjean wounded a little bit?
That's a great move from Rinus VeeKay. That's such a tough corner to pull a pass off, guys. You come through that kink in turn 7.
Move, great move.
Exactly right. Then you have to jut to the right-hand side. It's so bumpy, so many different surfaces from turn in to exit at turn 8, more than any other corner. Big challenge here.
Now check this out. Rinus VeeKay on the softer red tires, running the shorter middle stint here. Just has way more grip and really kind of surprises Grosjean. Grosjean, we know, is struggling, and that's a brake zone that's hard enough when you're by yourself.
100%, and if you are struggling, you're kind of a sitting duck there. Not only is he on the softer tires, just like Pato O'Ward, they're much newer than the primaries on the 28.
Former teammates working against each other right here. That's Castroneves right behind Will Power. By the way, I had a chat with Michael Shank today and asked about Elio's future for next year. He says we're working towards that. That is the goal, to have Elio Castroneves return full-time next season.
Start to get understeer.
Will Power talking about growing understeer, challenging to get the car to turn in all these corners. That'll introduce a longer coast phase to get the front end to the apex. You just can't charge the entries as much when you have understeer around here.
Can also hurt you getting back to power and your exits out of 11, out of 2 to try to protect against the passing opportunities in 1 and 3.
Hey, old friend.
Yeah.
Hey, old teammate.
The progress that he made at the start of this race has sort of been stunted a bit. He's running down in 17th at the moment. We saw him as high as what, 12th?
Yeah, didn't expect this today. It doesn't appear like there's been any damage from that earlier contact to Will Power's car. So Castroneves on the charge here.
But meanwhile, Castroneves' teammate, who started on the same row as him, 17th and 18th, he's all the way up inside the top 10. He's 9th at the minute. So big progress from the 60 Meyer-Shank Racing car. Joseph Newgarden we're on board with now, running in 3rd place, but 16 seconds behind the leader, Dylan.
And they are in fuel save mode because they pitted early. They were one of the first of the leaders to pit on that first cycle. Want to try to go a little bit longer here, which is why the gap over 2nd place continues to grow. But the longer you go here, the shorter stint you have on the backside, which obviously keeps the tires a little fresher too for the end of the run, the end of the race. So they're in fuel save right now. Tim Cindric said a lap ago about 10, but we'd like about 12 more laps if you can make it happen for Newgarden running 3rd.
That's good info, Dylan, because I was wondering. I noted that the gap was about 16 seconds when Daly and Johnson had pitted, and it had actually grown, but that explains that right now.
So Alexander Rossi there in the 27 Napa car, locking up the right front into turn 3. Rosenqvist continues to put him under pressure. Dave?
Townsend, something about Felix Rosenqvist's conversation with me this morning was intriguing. We saw that Newgarden is saving, so that's backed him up a little bit to Rosenqvist here, but he had a problem with brake lock in the morning warm-up. He said, I've actually had it all weekend long, and what I have to do is lift off a little bit of the brakes after I initially hit them going into the corner. He said, it's not ideal, but I've done it before, and the one thing it can do is give me better tire degradation or less tire degradation at the end of the run, so that may be some of that speed too.
Also, some of the pressure from Rosenqvist comes by virtue of the fact that Rosenqvist went the farthest of the top 5 drivers on the first stop, hit it on lap 19. He has the freshest tires and the most fuel to use to get to the end.
I'm watching this battle up front between Dixon and Herta, and the gap's kind of staying about the same, guys. They're sort of shot for shot on lap time within a 10th or 2 as we ride on board with the Gainbridge Honda. The Gainbridge on board here of Colton Herta, and I can't help but think, is Scott Dixon controlling this pace, just kind of keeping that gap there, a nice safe distance, or are these guys just that evenly matched right now? Colton's got enough clean air in front of him. He can run as fast as the leader in pure clean air, and he might just be able to close it up a little bit as they get closer to the pit cycle, Dave.
So they did talk about maybe getting a little extra, maybe a little extend on this run. So they went to a fuel map that was a little more fuel saving for Colton about 4 laps ago.
And Kevin, wouldn't it be so Scott Dixon-like to be focusing all weekend on race pace? The best average stint, not the outright fastest lap. Colton got pole, but right now, Dixon's the one that's in control.
I had a feeling coming into this weekend that Dixon was going to be very strong, but you have a more analytical approach. You have watched the car and have felt like this might be the best car all weekend.
Yeah, I mean, just in every facet of this, new tires, old tires, it just seems compliant. Great ride control, especially in a section right there as you're braking for the bumps. It never seems to jump out and have huge oversteer moments. And I mean, Dixon is so disciplined about keeping his eyes on the big picture. Championship points, and what's it take setup-wise to win the race? So many teams and drivers can get caught up with just the fastest car for 1 lap. We talk about that all the time, James.
But the team, Chip Ganassi Racing, deserves so much of the credit as well, because they didn't do this with an aggressive pass on track. It wasn't through a, extending your tire life. Colton Herta didn't burn his tires off and make a mistake. This was done on the pit sequence. This was a strategy call that got the 9 in front of the 26, and this team, the number 19,
to look pretty sloppy here. Could be an
famous for
opportunity to
that.
shoot soon.
So there you go. There's the call for Felix Rosenqvist from Billy Vincent on his stand saying Rossi is looking sloppy. Could be an opportunity here. We're already past the midway point, and the window to pit for the final time comes up at about 5 laps. And Rosenqvist to the inside. They're going to make contact, and Rossi is into the wall. Rosenqvist is through. Rossi is out.
He just hit me out.
At Mid-Ohio, it was Grosjean and Rossi with the roles reversed. Now Rossi finds himself trying to hang on the outside, and he just got shoved off.
And these are future teammates potentially next year. Rossi's going to McLaren. Rosenqvist is staying in McLaren. We don't know what series, though.
I feel like maybe the wheel got kicked out of Alexander's hands the way it went straight all of a sudden.
I was just going to say I can't wait to see the onboard from the 27 to see if it was something just like what we saw at Mid-Ohio. So here it is. It was a late move. He got there, but Alex gave him the room. They touch here. Felix over, and you see immediately the wheel just turns hard left. Definitely was knocked out of Alex's hand.
I think this is important to watch for race control. If we get Rossi's
Turn 3, tight to the right, turn 3.
Perspective.
So let's see as we ride on board.
And the reason is, if the wheel got kicked out of Rossi's hands, whose fault is that? You put that on Rosenqvist? I mean, you can run too wide. Rossi knows he's there, gave him a little bit of room.
So here's where race control might not like it, is right at this moment, the oversteer from Rosenqvist is what forces the contact. You could argue loss of control from that car. But yeah, I mean, again, it's weird that twice now Rossi's been involved in an incident with the wheel just getting kicked out of his hand like that. Nothing you can do.
No.
They gave each other room. We've seen a lot of rubbing coming out of turn 3, going through turn 4, side-by-side action like that. It wasn't a super egregious move, I don't think, from Felix Rosenqvist.
Race directors talk a lot about needle of responsibility. In situations that are debatable, where does that needle lie? The majority of responsibility, which driver is that with? So Dave, drama on the track. I told you we'd get another yellow.
Oh, yes, you did. Something about that cauldron, I think. This was Felix to his team.
How's your car? It's good, pull some big.
His fault for saying I'm outside.
Yeah, copy that.
The part that got me, I'm not sure if it was in that radio transmission or not, but he's always touching, and so apparently wanted to be aggressive with a driver who is sometimes aggressive.
That's kind of the common theme. I race people the way they race me is the general consensus most drivers feel. I don't know the background between the two of them, but...
Was that avoidable contact? I'd say so.
It's being reviewed. It is under review.
It's a tough one. It really is. I mean, you know, I certainly don't think... we've just seen so many cars come out of turn 3 side by side, lean into each other, and you sort of both just sort it out as you get through 4. It's just the unfortunate thing is they hit at an angle where, you know, Rossi had the wheel pulled out of his hand. So I guess that puts more responsibility on Felix. Certainly, you can't put any blame on.
Everybody laid out here, so
this is what you talked about, Townsend. These yellow flag stops are going to be absolute chaos in the tightest pit lane, the shortest pit lane that we have in IndyCar.
It is so tight, it is so pressure-packed, Kevin, and there is so much opportunity for greatness or disaster, all packed into the tightest pit lane on our schedule.
And just like that, the big advantage that Dixon and Herta had is gone. Newgarden is right back in the mix. Rosenquist, the cause of the yellow or involved in it, is a player.
The benefit for Newgarden saving fuel is he might not have to put as much fuel in.
Scott Dixon locked up and skidded through the pit lane entry. Looked a lot like Indianapolis earlier, so Dixon looking for every advantage. Here's Newgarden, tight, Dylan.
You know what, Marcus Ericsson across his nose. Sticker blacks going on for Newgarden. We'll see how long the fuel save is. Dave.
Sticker blacks for Dixon as well. Hit his marks perfectly after that little skid in, and most everybody up pit lane said, "We'll come if the leaders come." The leader did, and he's going to lead off a pit lane as well.
The race off pit lane right there between McLaughlin and Rosenquist, and I think maybe Rosenquist got him, but Dixon got out first.
Disaster for Newgarden. Look at how many spots he lost. Dylan.
Something on the right rear. It looked like they were trying to rock the car. I wasn't sure if they could get the right rear on or what the issue was, but yeah, definitely a problem there for Newgarden.
It's been a tough weekend. We'll be watching the right rear. How about the left front changer? There's an issue with the gun. Oh, I can see him. What's he doing there?
On the left rear.
Why was the right rear changer rocking the car?
Bizarre. Oh, 3 wide. That's such a tight pit lane. Devlin DiFrancesco sneaking out ahead of his teammate Roman Grosjean. But here's Felix Rosenquist. Oh, no, sorry, Pato O'Ward. Side by side, Will Power getting forced out by David Malukas. It's supposed to be one car through there. Be interesting to see how that one gets settled. Oh, man, Malukas did a good job getting out of it and allowing, I think that was Lundgaard.
Excellent bit of driving by all 5 of these drivers.
That's Palou there.
Let's take a look at Newgarden. Is the fuel having trouble getting plugged in and they're trying to push the car over?
Yes, he's too far out. Look here, you can see right here how far away he is from that arrow. He stopped almost a foot, I'd say. They couldn't get the fuel hose in all the way. They were trying to make sure it was connected fully. Great call.
So Newgarden from up front, now mid-pack with a lot of work to do, and what is going to be a wild restart coming. Thank you for joining us from Toronto on Peacock. We're ready to go racing again. So VK and Daly stayed out. Dixon, Herta, Rosenquist, McLaughlin, the effective leaders. There's no way the front 2 make it to the end.
And this has been a quick yellow. I don't think they've had time to sweep the track. So with 2 cars a little slower, you've got Dixon and Herta will be coming. This should be a little crazy in a couple laps.
So really, third on back is what we're watching. Dixon defending on Herta. Rosenquist, McLaughlin in that yellow XBEL car this weekend right behind.
Yellows breed yellows often, James, in IndyCar racing. No more so than a place like Toronto as Newgarden got wide and on the marbles. Here comes Malukas looking on O'Ward.
The marbles were so bad, Joseph had to get out of it, going onto the back straight. And look at him getting swallowed up now. We see O'Ward there, Malukas there, side by side.
Ericsson and Palou together. Remember, they came together on Road America, and that wasn't very pleasant.
Devlin DiFrancesco had to hit the brakes there to avoid getting into the wall. David Malukas squeezed him. Will Power taking advantage, driving him all the way to the outside.
There's the slide job and the shove job, and that was a shove. Power filling it.
Bit between his teeth. He is absolutely going for it. Dev lost another place there to, I believe, Castro Neves, now defending against Callum Ilott. Jimmy Johnson looking on the inside of Kyle Kirkwood. And Romain Grosjean side by side with Jack Harvey. Grosjean had to serve a penalty for a pit lane speed violation.
So now if you're Grosjean, you're all the way at the back. You're like, I got nothing to lose. It is 10-tenths. And DeFrancesco having to be very defensive on Callum Eilert, who gets by in turn 1.
Now, has Grosjean served the penalty? Normally you need to do that under green.
Yeah,
I think he has to come in next time.
But why is he so far back then?
Maybe he already did. By the way, no action taken on the reason for the yellow between the 7 and the 27, between Rosenqvist and Rossi.
That sets a precedent for the rest of this season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't entirely disagree with it. I think it's just so, I guess you have to look at the outcome, right? That's what IndyCar race control likes to do, is they have to look at the outcome, and obviously one driver got a much worse end of that stick, but it wasn't really an egregious fault.
The thing is, the precedent was already set by Rossi at Mid-Ohio on the inside, where he had contact with Grosjean. So we haven't found the limit yet in race control. It's a fist fight out there.
So we're hearing the penalty for Grosjean was going to the back of the field. I've got conflicting information. One says drive-through penalty, but we're hearing back of the field, which makes more sense for where he is on track.
So here's Grosjean. He likes to work the outside.
I'll tell you though, man, turn 9 here, there is absolutely no grip. It is so difficult to get through there side by side.
And Jack Harvey knows that. He must be thinking, seriously?
Yeah, go for it, bud. So wide in turn 8 for Jack Harvey. That opens up the opportunity for Grosjean, but there's just absolutely, you can see the difference in the concrete there. But Colton Herta now,
he's right there.
2.5 second gap before that yellow. A couple tenths of a second now, right on the gearbox of the 9.
And Colton Herta must be thinking, Dixon's still building temperature and pressure, and I need to get Dixon early, not late in the stint. Dixon had the advantage later in the stint. I think Colton Herta's wide-eyed right now thinking, this is my chance for the win.
I'm talking about advantage. When you look at the push-to-pass numbers, it is in Colton Herta's favor. 23 seconds to the good over Scott Dixon. 103 for Scott. Now down to 106 for Herta and 97 for Scott. Both of these guys on it. A little bit loose over the concrete there out of 1.
And Hinch, they told him you go to a fuel save mode if you cannot get him. Otherwise, go get him.
Yeah, he's thinking, go get him right now. That Christmas tree of push-to-pass lit up on Colton Herta's wheel. Where does he go? Outside.
At this point in the stint, Scott's tires are still so good. Both drivers are going to have great braking potential, but he's trying right now on the button into 5. You thought about it.
That's Connor Daly, I believe, just in front of Dixon.
Through this long turn 6, this long right-hander, when you're that close to a car, the understeer is savage. So hard to follow this close through this section of the racetrack.
They stopped under yellow on 47, went green on 48. We know they can go 35 laps to the end. There's likely going to be some fuel save needed to get to the finish.
That's definitely coming, and I don't know how many times it's been said on an IndyCar broadcast, but when it comes to fuel saving, it's tough to bet against Scott Dixon.
You guys noticed last lap in turn 3 in the brake zone, Dixon had a lazy fade, kind of taking away the passing lane for Colton Herta. What does Dixon do this time?
And you got to remember, they were going to have to save fuel to make this number work anyway. Every time you hit that push-to-pass button, that number gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So every time we're seeing Colton go down to that overtake button, he is making his job later in this stint and the end of this race that much harder.
So we talk about dirty air. Sometimes it's difficult when you're right behind a car, so that's normally an advantage for the leader. But in this case, the effective leader of the race has the dirty air from Connor Daly in front of him.
Exactly right, and it's mildly compounded back again to Colton Herta and then again to Felix Rosenqvist, who's got himself essentially up into a podium position. But one of the guys that's definitely not going to be on the podium today, unfortunately, he's done it before here, Dylan, is Alexander Rossi. What does he have to say?
Yeah, he's out of medical right now and just watched the replay. So what is your take on the contact with Felix? Too aggressive or appropriate?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I've heard you guys in the booth are comparing it to last week, though, but the big difference is I wasn't the one doing the overtaking last week, so not quite the same, but neither here nor there. It's a shame, you know, we had a car to be up front.
Is there anything that you can do? Your wheel keeps getting knocked out of your hand. I mean, is there anything that you can do to prevent that from happening again?
I'm open to suggestions.
All right. Thank you, Alex.
I'm not going to touch that one. You have any suggestions?
Well, I mean, power steering is the only thing that's going to solve that problem, and that's not coming anytime soon in the IndyCar series.
But the steering wheels are custom molded grips. So you see on Colton Herta's steering wheel, you see how big the surface area is? Wow, yellow's out.
We don't see any cars not moving on track. There might be some debris somewhere. We're waiting for word from race control. It is debris. It's concrete, guys.
Wow.
It's the track surface breaking up.
Cobblestone.
There's some debris. Look for some chunks of debris in turn 1. There's big chunks of concrete down there.
That's Brian Herta talking to Colton Herta on the 26 Gainbridge Honda.
Getting terrible flashbacks of Detroit 2012.
I was just going to say, we've got a booth expert here. Talk us through what happened back then.
I really don't want to. We had the track coming up, and unfortunately, the race director didn't care and let us drive through it. I was not leading, no, but car in front of me, Graham Rahal, right there in the bottom of your screen, just kicked up a piece that had been slowly working its way loose. We all saw it, we all called it in, and unfortunately got stuck under the front of my car, lifted the front tires off the ground, and I found the tire wall in a big way.
So what are the chances that this could be a long yellow that helps Rinus VeeKay or maybe Connor Daly stretch this thing? Probably slim to none.
Well, I think at this point, if it's to a situation where race control thinks that repairs have to be made, we're going to red flag this thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be to the benefit of VeeKay or Daly at all here. Hopefully, it's just kind of an isolated thing, not something they're concerned about moving forward. But we'll have to just wait and see.
There's no way they were going to make
right
it.
Side of
more
the,
than 10 laps short. Now, what it does do is it means we're going to have a flat-out race the rest of the way.
Connor's diving in now.
It might as well. Might as well.
Yeah.
But there's no fuel save needed for Dixon Herta or the other leaders.
No, not at all. What IndyCar might do at the same time is take advantage of this yellow and sweep the rest of the track as well, because the marbles have built up considerably as Connor's down and away.
A couple other cars coming into pit lane. We see Kyle Kirkwood, Romain Grosjean, Jimmy Johnson all coming in, and red tires going on the 28.
I like this strategy. You've had a tough day. You're at the back regardless. You're going to restart at the back. So throw the reds back on and see if you can make something happen. And there's no sweep coming on the road course.
And these are going to be used reds, because getting through into qualifying Q2 and qualifying, he would have used both sets of the new tires he had there, and then started on a new set of alternates at the beginning of the race. So that's a one qualifying run set of alternates going on to the 28. So not brand new, but definitely going to give him an advantage on a restart against a bunch of drivers that have primaries that have a few laps under him now.
So Alexander Rossi mentioned our reference to Mid-Ohio. If you missed this, or you want to see it again, this is what happened. Lap 56. And everybody was so mad, it went white. Burning hot white.
White hot
the
rain.
white mist.
The
little bit of an
cauldron
issue
of
there.
hate is pulled out and ready to go.
All right, let's try this again. That was Grosjean on the outside, Rossi on the inside. Light touch, left side's in the dirt, and then Rossi contact again, but the steering wheel got knocked out of his hand as Grosjean was challenging from the outside. Here you'll see, watch Rossi's hands.
Yeah, and when you think back to the interview we just got from Alex, he kind of said it. He wasn't the passing car. The needle responsibility is usually more on the passing car. That's something race control likes to say. As we see more of this, that one maybe there was some responsibility on him, but upset team owner there. I think he acknowledges that it's kind of one of those unfortunate deals. It's not that Felix did anything wrong. It's just the bad positioning of how they touched.
So let's look here in a moment at the NTT top 5 pitch strategy and look what has been happening with VeeKay. A very different strategy, off sequence. Connor Daly had ducked in. And then you've got the effective leaders right behind him.
Yeah, ECR essentially splitting their two cars on the strategy, letting Rinus stay out front, see how this plays out. Why not, Townsend? And then pit the 20.
I don't agree, actually. I bring the 21 car of VeeKay in and give him a chance to make positions on the restart. He's going to have to pit in a few. That'll send him not only to the back, but maybe to the gap back plus a gap. So I would actually bring VeeKay in now, just like they did with Connor. Give your driver to race his way forward.
Now, one guy that's feeling racy today, Graham Rahal, is up into 6th position, effectively 5th on the strategy once Rinus VeeKay comes in for his last stop. And as you ride on board with the United Rentals, this is a great comeback. He had the pace. We talked about it earlier in the show. And now it's great to see him making those places.
And our pit stop data is powered by NTT data. And we are going to go green again through turn 9 and 10. And Rinus VeeKay isn't going to make it to the end, but he's going to stay out front. He's going to get some peacock coverage here for Big Nile, and he's got
a lot of laps on the reds too, so he should be sliding around here in a couple laps.
So watch that PNC Bank car behind, trying to hold off that yellow and black car of Colton Herta. Rosenquist is not too far behind Herta. Then it's McLaughlin. Great look on the Geico aerial.
I think that was Christian Lundgaard, the blue and white car, getting wide. That checks everybody up, including Will Power, Callum Ilott there, DeFrancesco.
Maybe gives Pato O'Ward an opportunity to make a move there. It doesn't look like it cleared him. Oh,
Palou around the outside with his teammate. Ericsson and Palou might have bumped. Still trying to squeeze through. Ericsson maintains the position.
Don't forget Road America. What happened between these two?
Almost turned him.
Contact there. Got the 8 very loose. Managed to hang on to it, keep it off the wall. Pato O'Ward going slow. Damage there.
I don't know if it's damage or if he just got pushed wide and onto the marbles.
Oh man, it's wiggling.
Malukas got through for that spot in that black and white car. That's in 12th.
Grosjean trying the outside again, and once again coming up a bit short.
Kirkwood and Jimmy Johnson together, and they aren't going to make it through.
Jimmy turned down on me.
Racing for 21st.
No, I am not.
Another yellow, and James might not be the last.
You do say it all the time. Cautions breed cautions. We have 25 laps to go in this race.
Kyle Kirkwood claiming Jimmy Johnson turned down on him. Let's see what happened.
And this all sort of starts from Romain Grosjean attempting to go around the outside of Connor Daly in turn 8. Has to check up on board with Jimmy Johnson here. He's looking ahead at Grosjean. Probably not looking into his mirror to think that Kirkwood could be trying to make a move there.
But Jimmy was looking to the outside of Grosjean and then backed out, and I think Kirkwood saw an opportunity to follow Grosjean, and that's what led to the contact there. And this is what happened between teammates, sort of.
For now.
And these roles were reversed at Road America, where Palou got hit by Marcus Ericsson.
See a little bit of contact. Again, that to me is very reminiscent of what we saw between the 7 and the 27. There just wasn't that wheel-to-wheel contact. Very late on the brakes for Palou. Ericsson a bit checked up on the inside there. They kind of lean onto each other. Palou gets out of it to avoid the inside of turn 4 and then throws it down the inside of 5. Doesn't quite get there. Touches the left rear of the 8.
Some question as to which race team Palou will be on next year. I think he might answer it there in terms of what his intentions are.
But he did back out of it. So I'm going to ask the guys as we go back and see what happened at Road America with the two very much disagreeing. And Palou backed out of his comments a little bit after seeing it, but he was not happy to begin and said, yeah, we can play this game if you want to do this.
Yeah, I don't think Marcus Ericsson did anything wrong there. Palou just kind of got surprised and then turned into Ericsson's right rear with his left front.
That's the view. That onboard from behind is the one that really sort of seals it for me, as it shows, you know, when it's left front to right rear contact. Alex Palou can see him there. I think he just misjudged the over-under there, the cutback.
Now, he did back out of this, and they got through it. So my question is, you know, frankly, as Kirkwood is out of the car and Jimmy looks like he's still in the car going to be pushed, frankly, there was some question about whether Alex Palou was going to drive this car this weekend, at least from us. I have to believe there were conversations when the driver says, I don't want to come back, I want out. Another team announces they've signed him, dueling press releases. So we know Ryan Hunter-Reay is under contract as a fill-in, and I have to believe his continuance depends on how he gets along within the team dynamic. Does that play in to Alex Palou's thought there that I cannot crash a teammate if I want to finish this championship?
No, I don't think it does.
Okay.
As we see Rinus VeeKay peel off to the pits. I see your point, Cal. I totally
I just wanted to ask the driver question.
Yeah, I don't think those things really go through a driver's mind in that moment. You know, if anything, if there is any ill feeling towards the team right now, he might be working his teammates a bit harder, and Dylan's down in pit lane to get the leader.
Yeah, and Rinus VK is in, so they'll put another set of red tires on here, the sticker set of reds for VK, make that front wing change, and he will obviously cycle back. He was running about 15th or so, I think, when they cycle through, so that's probably about where he'll be.
Are the pits closed here, or is VK going to get a bunch of positions there by virtue of the pace car having to go slow? Right, so VK just totally lucked out because of the crash.
Yeah, he didn't cycle all the way to the back.
He just gained a bunch of positions.
He's ahead of Connor Daly by 3 spots, 4 spots. Yeah, that sort of worked out, and now he's got fresh red tires.
They were definitely open.
It usually what happened, of course the pits are open, but I guess what I'm saying is, like in sports car racing, they would close pit out. You'd have a red light there.
Right.
Pit exit is closed.
We don't have that here.
This happened at Nashville, if you remember.
Yes.
Throughout the Indy racing season, grab your mobile device and scan the QR code on your screen for a chance to win $25,000 at HighVDeals.com. It's simple. Scan the QR code and register to win, thanks to our friends at Hy-Vee. There's the Hy-Vee on board with Jack Harvey, and when we think of Hy-Vee, we're going to think about the doubleheader on the Oval at Iowa coming up next weekend, presented by Hy-Vee. It's going to be fantastic. 4 concerts before and after the doubleheader races back on NBC next weekend. Afternoon races, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. Friday is free. There are still some tickets available, so I hope you can join us for fantastic short oval racing at Iowa Speedway.
You see how slow Jack Harvey has to navigate. That's how Rinus VK passed 5 cars in pit lane. Something like that.
Not that he passed them, it's that he didn't lose the spots to them, right?
True. Yeah, that's true.
And again, by virtue of the fact that this is the shortest pit lane that we do have, and the fact that the incident was right there, so the pace was slowed down by the safety car. I mean,
it's just
good on you.
It's a perfect accident for Rinus VK and the perfect part of the track to slow up the field. So interesting to see how that played out.
Yeah, he should have been absolutely last in the running order there behind Romain Grosjean. And
any other racetrack, including this one under normal circumstances, as we get to see the replay from the last restart with Will Power. Contact there with...
That's Castroneves. And then Power coming back. Getting it back.
Man, he nearly ended up in the wall himself there on those primaries. The brake zone for turn 5 so tricky. There's a big bump, a little bit of an elevation change. You start going downhill just before turn in. It's so easy to lock up there and go wide. He did definitely do both of those things, and luckily Elliott was heads up enough to get out of the way.
And Power's not made up much ground today like he's been doing. Started 16th, running 15th.
And guys, one of the strategists described it to their driver. There were about 8 things going on right there, so glad you missed most of that. One of them was Colton Herten from where he sits. Here's some radio.
All right, so your rundown is your P3, VK is still going to pit, and we're still going to have a big fuel number to hit to get to the end. Yeah, that's going to be the name of the game here. Obviously, if you get a shot at Dixie, you take it.
So there it is. Fuel save, but if you get a shot at Dixie, go ahead and take it. And so, Townsend, is this where we see this driver in his maturing phase, right? There are times when he has had to be on the aggressive point and has not nailed it. Today, he's got Scott Dixon in front of him, Felix Rosenquist behind him. Does he do it?
Well, we're about to find out, Dave. He's taken too big of a bite a couple of times, like Nashville and Long Beach. Long Beach this year when he had the fastest car, but I think there's one more message that's important from Father Brian Herta, which is, son, you're 8th in the championship as you run right now. This is a really strong run. Make high percentage decisions here. We don't need to try too hard.
And when you talk about championship, this guy right here, Marcus Ericsson, your leader, he would actually increase his points lead over Will Power if they were to finish as they run right now. It's, Will Power lost a couple spots on that last restart as we take a look at some brave visitors to the CN Tower, getting a great view of the racetrack.
Oh boy. I'm not really afraid of heights, but that still makes my stomach drop every time I see these shots. I'm not doing that.
How about the person that's the tour guide who does it several times a day, every day?
That's the view that, no, not happening. Our Marty Snyder would be up there for us, though.
Oh,
Marty.
No, he would not. No, he would not.
Oh. So it's all sorted now. Everybody's on the same strategy up front. What you're seeing is where everyone effectively is. The only difference is back there in 13th. Just heard Brian Herta say we still need some fuel save. Rinus VeeKay doesn't need any fuel save.
But that was when VeeKay still hadn't pitted. That was several laps ago, that radio transmission. This is such a long yellow. I have to think Colton Herta should be okay to go full tilt.
Yeah, I think it's getting into a better spot, but that push to pass, it really does hurt your mileage and does make that number a lot bigger. So who knows?
All right, well, we have a moment before the restart. Let's go axe through the field, and we start with Dave Burns.
Scott Dixon at the head of the field now. Can the 6-time champion make it 7? I asked him that on Friday. He said it's been quite a ride this year. No wins yet for the orange number 9, but he believes that if they would get on a roll, it is still possible numerically. That is certainly the case. Behind him, Colton Herta, the black and yellow number 26. Can he do it? Can he pursue that longtime champion Dixon and run him down? It's been a good weekend for Herta. Remember, he started on the pole, and that car's been underneath him well all day long. Third in line, Felix Rosenqvist, told he would drive next year for McLaren. Where will it be? Will it be in the electric series? Will it be in this series? Every time he said I get a chance to show them I belong in IndyCar, I am going to do it because I love this series and I think it's where I belong. And fourth, Scott McLaughlin. He's got a lot of push to pass there, Kevin. 121 left, Dylan.
And Dave, running 5th is Graham Rahal, who said yesterday maybe tomorrow will be our lucky day. They didn't have the luck in qualifying, but they've capitalized, played the strategy perfectly today. Started 14th, he's up to 5th, and he's got a car that's capable of contending now for a win, Dave.
Simon Pagenaud found his way into the top 10. They had a good strategy play, and Simon said all the problems he's had with his car, they got it worked out this morning. So the 60 now with pace and on the same strategy, Dylan.
Marcus Ericsson runs in the 7th spot right now. Kind of been a slow and steady, quiet day for these guys. Started 9th, but feel like they've got a really good race car. Just hard to make up spots, but they're happy with their 8 car right now, and he runs in the 7th spot. His teammates behind him, Dave.
Alex Palou not knowing for sure, or maybe he does where he's going to drive next year, but won't tell us. What he did tell us on the track so far today, staying very good in that 10 car, and now has worked his way up to 8th, Dylan.
Another youngster behind Alex Palou. It's Christian Lundgaard, who continues to run strong for the Rahal Letterman Lanigan camp. His first time here. He's just been trying to learn this racetrack all weekend, then get the race car better for him. They've done both of those now. He runs the 9th spot, and behind him, running 10th, is Joseph Newgarden. Remember, they had that slow pit stop a few laps ago. They had the fuel issue. They got all the fuel in the car, Tim Cindric says, but Newgarden's buried now in 10th.
Thanks, Dylan. Thank you, Dave. We're going to go green again the next time by. The Hitachi on board with Joseph Newgarden. So we go up front, and we have Scott Dixon, who will turn 42 next week, looking for win number 52, and the 22-year-old, maybe the next star of American Formula Car racing. It's Colton Herta, ready to pounce on him. Felix Rosenqvist trying to preserve his job. Scott McLaughlin in the championship mix. So many storylines right there. How about Graham Rahal? He hasn't won in 5 years. He's in play today.
Rahal with a previous best finish of 5th. Dixon furiously trying to clean his tires for this restart.
It might come down to this. There may not be another chance at a restart. How aggressive will Herta get? Rosenqvist, McLaughlin, Rahal, Pagenaud, Ericsson, the championship leader in the red and white car. Behind him, back to green in Toronto. Good jump for Scott Dixon, and then side-by-side, Rahal going for a spot on McLaughlin, and I think he's got him.
Side-by-side through turn 2. Scott's going to have to yield, and he's out in the marbles. That's letting other cars go by. Ericsson's through, Pagenaud's through. Scott McLaughlin losing a lot of positions now. Palou through as well.
Masterful job from Graham Rahal. McLaughlin with no previous experience at Toronto. Rahal showed the advantage there.
David Malukas running around the outside of Pato O'Ward. And now Marcus Ericsson looking down the inside of Simon Pagenaud in turn 5. He's going to make it stick.
And Palou, contact there with Palou's front wing to the back end of Pagenaud.
Guys, this is a championship drive for Marcus Ericsson right now. He's kept it cool, he's kept it calm and controlled. No mistakes, no issues. As Palou looks to the inside of turn 8, it's going to be a tough one.
Oh, Palou, get out of my way.
I think Pagenaud might have backed out enough to save him there. That was tight.
That was very close with Graham Rahal and Simon Pagenaud into turn 9. We saw that not work with Kyle Kirkwood and Jimmy Johnson before this restart. Now Joseph Sorry, Kyle Kirkland, yeah, Jimmy Johnson. Now Joseph Newgarden on the push to pass. Sorry.
Well, Newgarden's trying to make his way back through, and there's Pat O'Ward going to the inside of Malukas, and VK is going to try to follow him.
Rinus VK seemingly out of this thing, now fighting for a chance to get into the top 12.
Guys, that was a late move and reaction from David Malukas into turn 1 there.
Oh, look at this. Palou and Ericsson at it again through the tight section. Turns 4, 5, 6 coming up.
For 5th, championship leader, red and white car, Ericsson. Palou, defending champion. We don't know. He now won't say which team he'll drive for next year. TBD.
You saw the understeer through turn 6, following Marcus that closely. Now Marcus all over the back of Graham Rahal. This number 8 and this number 10, frankly, are absolutely hooked up, Dylan.
And for Marcus Ericsson, he said at the beginning of this weekend, this is a really important stretch for them to just consistently be up front and try and extend the points championship lead. And they're having a championship caliber day today, as you said, started 9th. Wasn't happy with that, but they knew that they had a good race car. Marcus got to 7th and then picked off 2 there on that restart we just saw. So he's doing his job, and the team has given him the car to continue to extend that points lead.
Palou is coming, though.
It's important for Marcus to not let that get, rattle him. If Palou's got the advantage and makes a move, he's got to think big picture here. This is not a fight for 5th place for Marcus Ericsson. This is a fight for an IndyCar championship.
Look at push to pass, James. Palou double the number of seconds as Marcus Ericsson has remaining. So Palou with a huge advantage with 15 laps to go at the line here.
And quite a bit less than Graham Rahal in front of him. So Marcus in a bit of a tough spot, sitting here in 5th right now. But again, he just needs to think championship. He cannot be risking his race car, trying to get 1 extra place, trying to stay in the top 5 right now. But he's doing everything right so far. Really mature drive.
There's a lot of side-by-side, though, through some tough sections on that restart. Ericsson fortunate to get through there unscathed.
Graham Rahal just muscling it. We've talked about his racecraft this year, Townsend. They haven't had the pace, but he's pulled off some great Sundays after difficult Saturdays here. It was a difficult Saturday, not because of pace, just because of timing and luck. He's had the pace this weekend, and now he's really showing it solidly in the top 5. And Dave, what do you know about Alex Palou?
Well, Hinch, just thinking about the mindset for this young Spaniard, he's already the champion of the series. That was last year. And this year now going for the championship again. He was P4 coming into this weekend, so that's a possibility. But how in the world can he even make it happen with all of the chaos going on around him? 2 contracts, they both say they're valid. Who's he going to drive for? Says he's talked to Chip Ganassi, says it's all cool. The team members, they're all good because they all get along as friends. But Palou, that's a lot to carry for a young man.
It sure is, but he's showing why he's an NTT IndyCar Series champion with this drive today, Townsend, up 16 spots.
And what do you do if you're Chip Ganassi? You're watching this going, I want to keep this guy. Yeah. He's really good.
Absolutely. I don't think that was ever a question of wanting. Chip knows that this guy is an absolute legend in the making.
I only say that because kind of what we've seen is Chip not too happy with his driver's behavior. Does he want to keep him? Does he want to keep a guy that says he wants to leave for another team? But right now, Palou, like I said, given every reason why he's the 2001 champion and why Chip Ganassi should want to keep him around.
The common conversation and opinion in the paddock is this is untenable. No matter whether there's a contract or not, they need to work out a divorce and he will not return. However, Chip Ganassi is the opinion that matters, and if Alex Palou wins, first of all, he's thinking short term. The way to make sure that things go well the rest of this season is good results, maybe a win, and he's doing his job today.
Yeah, happy drivers are fast drivers, and you want to make sure that your driver who's in a championship hunt here is in a good space, but obviously that's been difficult. And let's listen on a little bit of radio, see what's happening right now on board that NTT number 10.
Lots of patience, you've got time, no pressure, remember the championship. Overtake in front, 43.
Yeah, you hear Barry Wanzer just updating Alex on the overtake situation. He still has Marcus Ericsson covered by quite a bit. 37 now for Marcus, 83 for Alex.
Rahal hasn't really been on the button very much. 82 seconds left for Rahal. Rosenqvist there in third, 107 seconds. So gotta think we're gonna see Rosenqvist start to use up that button and try to get past Colton Herta here pretty soon. What a day Rosenqvist has had.
But he's had this kind of pace since the opening weekends of the year. It was a rough start to the year, but he has been consistently quick throughout the last, I'd say 2 to 3 months. By the way, Palou has made 10 passes for position today. Let's watch Graham Rahal.
This is on the restart. We see a little bit of a defensive move there from McLaughlin. A lot of respect here. He had to catch it going sideways, but side by side, McLaughlin held on probably a little bit longer than he should have. Gotten the marbles there, Townsend.
You know, I've always said this, Graham Rahal has amazing spatial awareness in those kinds of situations, just knowing, hey, I could drive the guy out, but if I do, he's likely to ricochet off the wall, take me out. Graham, so good in those situations at racing clean, hard, and coming out on top.
It's because he's so tall. He can see around the car a little bit better than the other guys. That's why his spatial awareness is so good.
He's in position for his best finish of the year. 7th a couple of times, running 4th right now. Dylan.
And that's actually something that he said to me this afternoon was this track, and obviously we've seen it so far today, just has the potential to just cause chaos on its own. He said we can't put ourselves in position if we're going to make this strategy work to do anything that could potentially take us out of having a good finish. So you see that there represented in that move on McLaughlin. He's got the position, he's got the day that they wanted right now. They needed everything to go right. Graham was going to be the last one to make something go wrong there for their day today.
He is definitely doing his job, and so is his teammate Christian Lundgaard, running up in 8th place. Very impressive run so far from the rookie from Denmark.
That little shot of Rosenqvist there, he continues to hound the back end of Colton Herta.
And guys, this gap that Scott Dixon's pulling out, it's because he can keep a pace while saving fuel that almost no one else can keep. So it's not a pure pace thing, I think, at this point. I think it's a pace while hitting a number.
Well, I mean, how many times have we seen Dixon lead and only go as fast as he needs to just stay there? There's no, Dixon doesn't need to win this thing by 10 seconds, 15 seconds, or even 2 seconds. He just needs to stay ahead. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, Rosenqvist was just told we need you to put a little bit in the bank for us, right? If you go full out, we're going to be a little bit short, so he's got to save a little.
That's going to be music to the ears of Colton Herta.
Overtakes and all that good stuff.
There you go. He wants to save a bit of buffer to use some overtake if they get that opportunity in the closing laps here. Because remember, we could still have another caution and another restart, and you're going to want some overtake left.
I think that's why Dixon's one to not go burn up his tires. He's going to keep handling and performance in the bag in case he needs it for another restart. This Will Power battle further back. Been pretty dynamic for Power today, Kevin. Those red gloves have been all over the place.
And remember, he's still thinking championship. It's not the day that he wanted, but he can survive to still be there, coming in 20 points back to begin the day. He'd only still be 35 back and still remain in second as they run at the moment.
And if Scott Dixon can hang on to win this thing, he'd only be 44 points back of the championship lead with a bunch of races left to go. So Dixon doing everything right now to be in the mix come Laguna Seca at the end of the season.
10 laps to go. There's an issue with timing and scoring, I think potentially compound wide at this moment. But 10 laps to go in this 85-lap race. Scott Dixon is in front of Colton Herta. Felix Rosenqvist running in 3rd. Graham Rahal, great run today, in 4th. Championship leader Marcus Ericsson in 5th. He'll get ready to come around the corner in just a moment. The mission on board with Felix Rosenqvist, looking up ahead to Herta.
Let's ride on board here into turn 1 and see just how much fuel he's saving when he's getting off the throttle there into the brake zone. Give us an idea of what the fuel situation is on board the 7 right now.
Dylan.
And guys, you're talking about the timing and scoring being down. There's teams, they don't have telemetry down here too. I mean, what kind of problem does that potentially present here as these guys try to save fuel? Is that a major concern?
It's huge, Dylan. You definitely need to know what's left in the car. It's constantly updating to the timing stands, telling the engineers how much fuel is in the tank and giving the drivers the numbers they have to hit. But Billy Vincent sounds like he's confident he's got enough to go.
Did I just hear him say you can send it now?
That's what it sounded like.
That's right. You built our bank up enough with the communication. Send it.
Hey, Dave, you've caught up with somebody that's unfortunately out of this race.
It is Kyle Kirkwood. He told me when I talked to him on Friday, he'd been circling this event. This is the one you wanted to come to. How bad did it bite you this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we just didn't have the pace all weekend. That race, we were getting faster as the race got on. We got the balance kind of right there for the end. We were looking to be on a pretty good strategy, more fuel and better tires than everyone else, although coming from the back. And the one pass I tried to make on Jimmy, I just don't think that he realized I was trying to pass him on the inside. So super unfortunate. Again, it was very racy out there, but at the end of the day, we ended up in the wall again. So it's super unfortunate. I feel bad for the number 14 Sexton AJ Foy Racing guys because we need to get a good finish here. We really do.
There will be better days for Kyle Kirkwood in Toronto, guys.
Not that it impacts anything, but race control did determine that it's an avoidable contact penalty on Kirkwood, the 14th. So no penalty coming on Jimmy Johnson. So 8 laps to go now. Dixon and Herta and Rosenqvist, Ray Hall, Erickson. It appears to be, though, between the top two. No, not so fast, though. I think Rosenqvist still got something to say about that.
Oh, you bet.
Nah, Dixon's he's hanging that 2-second gap. He pulls out to that number and he just sits there. He manages to get that gap, but he never goes further. I think he's absolutely controlling this pace.
Herta's saving even more now. Herta's having to save more, but he's going to turn up to defend, and he's on the struggle bus with his rear tires here. Let's go get him.
On the struggle bus, not a ride that you ever want to take, especially around Toronto. Means Colton Herta is losing the back end of the race car. Those Firestones are used up, so Rosenqvist should be full of opportunity with 7 to go.
And that was Billy Vincent for the number 7 car that was giving him that information that he is struggling with his rears as Colton Herta. I mean, it's kind of a struggle bus around here when the car's good, Johnson. So
not for Dixon.
Not for Dixon.
So back up front, we watch Scott Dixon. And a reminder, on the brink of history, Scott Dixon has talked before, when he's asked, about win number 52.
To be second all-time on the wins list would be huge. You know, third sounds great. You know, I think all of us in the competitive environment that we're in, we all want to be number 1. You know, so unfortunately, I think AJ is pretty safe on his stat. You know, but right now the focus is on that you know, that second spot over Mario. But we're in the business of winning. You know, so if you're not winning, you're probably not going to be around too long. So you know, for me, it's a double whammy that you know, you always want to be winning and you always want to be beating the top, you know, toughest competition in the world.
That's the number that's somewhat attainable, and in reality, it's always seemed out of reach. 52 wins, but that is what Dixon is on the brink of. Foyt at 67, I'm not sure that's ever reachable in this era. There were more races at the time, it was a little bit different, but this is something extremely significant.
Respectfully, let me point out that Mario never retired.
Right.
So he's here almost every weekend with IndyCar driving the 2-seater. So Mario, if you're watching, bud, love to see you throw the suit back on and grit up and defend that second place.
I couldn't agree more. And a win here at Toronto would move him to second all-time on another list, and that's all-time win list here at Toronto. Only Michael Andretti has more at 7. This would be win number 4 for Scott Dixon. The other incredible record that we would see out of that is 18 consecutive seasons with at least 1 win in the IndyCar season, which would extend his own record of consecutive seasons with a win. It is not a surprise that this man is a 6-time champion, and worrying for everybody else, because how many times have we seen him kind of come from the back, be a second half of the season driver?
It's like letting Tiger Woods get within, you know, a few strokes in the final round. It's just...
All right, bud, you got grade 2 and all the overtake you want here. You got free use of that to the end here.
So Colton Herta is being told to save fuel. Felix Rosenqvist, obviously, they're fine, and they pitted on the same lap.
I really think that Colton burned a lot of fuel trying to get by Scott Dixon, using that push to pass a lot early in that stint. And that could be what he's paying for now.
I mean, Billy Vincent doing a great job selling his driver on opportunity here. Stay positive, but when I look at the back of Colton Herta's car, I don't exactly see full struggle bus going on there, James. That might be a little bit of creative liberty on the radio.
Yeah, it's motivational speaking. You know, you got to hype your guy up a little bit and let him know. But if Colton really is that close on fuel, he's not going to be able to
Funny good, bud. Funny good. You can go.
Use his push to pass as a defense mechanism. So, you know, we know that Felix has more, and I think he has the freedom to use it as well. So this could still get interesting with 4 to go.
Best finish this season for Felix Rosenqvist, 4th at the Indy 500. So he's looking for his first podium with Arrow McLaren SP. The last time he was on the podium, you have to go back to when he was with Chip Ganassi Racing in 2020. That was the season he got a win.
You can really tell there from the onboard of Rosenqvist, James, that Colton is focusing totally on exits. He's given up those entries, just focusing on trying to get the car squared up as much as possible. Meanwhile, Felix is being tempted into charge the entries. Now he's starting to burn up his tires a bit.
Yeah, it's all about
3 to go here. 3 to go.
Getting off of turn 11 and getting off of this one right here, turn 1 for Colton Herta. Make sure you've got that good acceleration down these straightaways into the best passing opportunities. Felix still has plenty of push to pass to use. He needs to use it just to close up to him, Townsend, and get the opportunity to take those stabs.
A little further back, you just look at timing and scoring. Ericsson is still somewhat within range of Rahal. I'm not sure how aggressive I'd be, though, if I'm Marcus Ericsson. I think I'd be pretty content to go home 5th.
Yeah, especially knowing that Rahal is having such a great day and so much experience here. Rahal, I would think, would be tough to get around for 4th place.
He's got nothing to lose, man. You do not want to necessarily push that one too hard.
And what a great turnaround for that team, Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. I had a chance to speak with Pierce Phillips, the team president, today. He talked about all of the long-term planning they've been doing, trying to not get too frustrated with the tough start to this season, and just being methodical, one foot in front of the other, building their organization from within, cultivating their own talent, and going to be a relief if Graham can hold on here for a solid top 5. But Kevin, I'm starting to see that Husky Chocolates car get closer and closer.
Not as close as we just saw Felix Rosenqvist to the back of Colton Herta at the end of the back straight there. This one's spicing up with 2 to go. Felix is not just sitting out and about. He's ready to get after and try to take this position.
And 4, 5, 6 is tight too with Rahal, Ericsson, and Palou. But we're looking ahead up to 2nd place, Colton Herta, Felix Rosenqvist. Lost a little bit of time right there, but he's still close. There's the leader.
So it's about 62 seconds to do a lap around here. Rosenqvist has 83 seconds left.
But he's not been using as much as I thought. Weird. He's had in the 80s for the last 3 laps.
Meanwhile, we're seeing the white flag for Scott Dixon, who has not won in his last 23 races. In that span, he's had 4 podiums since that last win at Texas. First half of a doubleheader in the spring of 21.
He's got a great run coming here, but Colton has enough seconds to defend. He's doing the dragon a little bit down the back straightaway, Herta is.
Breaking that draft, the Swedish snake all over the push to pass. He's too far back here. He's going to have one more shot at it probably into turn 8, but we talked about how tricky that is on old tires especially.
Herta trying to hang on to survive and finish 2nd. Dixon up front with a few more corners to go.
Dixon's just cruising. He knows these two are going at it tooth and nail, and this is it. The last opportunity for Felix. He's not going to get it done, and this guy, Scott Dixon, is going to take it.
4 wins at Toronto, but more significantly, history made. Win number 52. Scott Dixon has tied Mario Andretti for the 2nd most wins in IndyCar history. Dixon has done it in Toronto.
Done it in a dominating fashion, guys. When we saw the pace he had in qualifying, the confidence I think he had after that session, he knew he had a strong race car, and they just did exactly what they do, played the pit cycle perfectly, controlled it from there.
And with all the controversy with Chip Ganassi Racing and Alex Palou this week, Chip Ganassi, his ultimate loyalty is to winning, and he did it today with his most experienced driver, the master, Scott Dixon.
And only A.J. Foyt has won more IndyCar races than Scott Dixon. Andretti and Dixon, number 2 all time.
And you know what, man? We've talked about, hey, when's Scott going to eventually call it a day for so many years now? I think he finally came out this year and said, I don't see my situation changing in the next, 5 years. So who knows, man? 67 might be on the cards. Little congratulations there from teammate Alex Palou, who pulled off a great comeback after a difficult weekend to be in the top 6. Great day for this Chip Ganassi Racing squad.
And the drought is over. Dixon back in victory lane. It's 18 straight seasons, extending the record that he already had. we're going to hear from the Iceman. Emma is here this weekend as well. What a celebration this will be. Victory Lane is coming up from the Honda Indy Toronto. You're watching Peacock's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Hy-Vee, proud sponsor of Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Hy-Vee makes lives easier, healthier, and happier. And by Honda, an official vehicle of the NTT IndyCar Series. What a day here in the streets of Toronto. So good to be back at Exhibition Place, and we have seen history made. Now the second all-time winner in IndyCar, tying Mario Andretti, is Scott Dixon, and Dave Burns is there.
Wow, what a day. Mike Hull, strategist, getting the hug there. Because the strategy, I'll just start on that simple point, got you the lead early.
It did. You know, we struggled a little bit actually on rears. We made some adjustments after this morning in some of the the different tracks that we'd been to throughout the year, where we'd fought with understeer, and that definitely wasn't the case today. So it was a tough drive, man. I was like this the whole race. So I don't know. Ended a streak there, which is fantastic. Just so happy for the team. It's been a crazy year for the 9. I still feel extremely bad for all our partners and everybody involved for the 500. And again, I'm glad that Marcus was able to win it for our team, because the team definitely deserved it. But the PNC Bank number 9 back in winner's circle, man, it just feels so good. Massive thank you to Honda. To get that fuel mileage today was so easy.
You talked to us about it before, but how do these words ring? You have as many IndyCar wins as Mario Andretti.
It's amazing, honestly, to be close to Mario. Every time I'm asked these questions, I'm just so thankful that we still have AJ and him in the pits. We get to see them, we get to talk to them. It's just fantastic. Well done. Congrats. Good job, man. Good job. So it's huge, man. Just feel so lucky to be a part of this group, and even the other cars that had a rough qualifying, we're able to get right back up there. So hopefully we're kind of in the title hunt now.
Well, and I was going to talk to you about that, because we also spoke about that, and you said all we need to do is get on a roll, and we have to do it quick. Is this the roll?
I'm hoping this is the start of the roll. I think the team definitely deserves it. I know we've been working as hard as any. I'm going to give Cannon a big shout out too. He's not here this weekend, Mike Cannon, for all his hard work and effort that he puts in every weekend. And it was just tremendous to see, all the teams work really well together this weekend.
The drought is over. Scott Dixon is in victory lane for the first time in 2022. And Kevin, he did it the Dixon way. Fast, able to save fuel when he needs to, and right there at the end.
And after that heartbreak at Indy, he's finished 3rd, 9th, 5th, and now a win. And let's look now at the Children's Miracle Network moment of the race.
Get through turn 1 clean, but making it happen in the pits, making it happen with pace. Outlap on cold tires was enough to get it done and stay ahead of Colton Herta.
And for the 4th time on the streets of Toronto, Scott Dixon finds his way to victory lane. Big relief from everybody on the PNC Bank team. It's still crazy to think it took this long in the season for Scott Dixon to win a race. So dominant, we've seen him in the past, but this could just be the start of something great for this group in the next part of this season, guys.
All right, let's get more stories to the runner-up, Dylan.
And that's Colton Herta, who, of course, had his hands full there at the end, holding off Felix Rosenqvist, and on tires that obviously had extended their life for the length of that stint. How tough was it out there to try and hold on to second?
Yeah, Felix was really fast, and I'm glad that we were able to keep him behind us, but he looked like if a few more laps he was going to get us. But we just struggled a little bit with tire wear at the end, but other than that, our car was amazing. Obviously got beat out there by Dixon, but one of those races I have to be proud of. Team did an amazing job. Car was really good all weekend. Pole in a 2nd place, I'm happy with that. It's good to be back on the podium, and hopefully we can continue with these results more consistently.
Well, and that's the thing too, after Mid-Ohio and just the struggle you guys had there, how nice was it to come here and just execute a nice day and come home on the podium?
Yeah, it's good. We just need to make this a little bit more regular, and then do it again next year, and we'll be looking a lot better in the championship.
Absolutely. Colton Herta 2nd place today. Dave?
And let's talk to the 3rd place driver, Felix Rosenqvist, who knew he had a great car, knew he had some work to do, and did it so well.
Yeah, what a fun race. Big thanks to all our McLaren SP, Circle K. It was just, wow. I mean, what a race. We had to fight really hard for it. The strategy for the race was kind of, you kind of have to overtake on track and do good pit stops, and I think we nailed both of those. We took the opportunities we had, and that slowly moved us forward. I think if it wasn't for that last yellow, I think we were in a really good position with fuel. But everyone sort of went to a flat-out race in the end there with Colton and Scott. But yeah, really good fun, good racing, as it should be. First podium with the team, really stoked.
You said every run now I want to prove that I belong back in IndyCar with McLaren. Does this prove your point?
Yeah, I think this weekend, hopefully makes Zach doubt some things. It's still a long way to go in the year, but it's, as I said, every race just keep getting better and better, and this is the trajectory we want to be on, and I'm so excited for the rest of the season.
Well done today, Felix Rosenqvist. Let's move to 4th place. That was Graham Rahal, and a big handshake for him, and you guys raced hard together, and you overcame a lot over the last few weeks and this weekend as well. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, first off, Felix has to prove nothing to anybody. The guy's exceptional talent. He belongs in IndyCar racing. I hope he finds a spot. I know if we had room at the end, I'd be pushing for him. So, but for us, I think, P4 feels like a win. Particularly today, I don't think it was given, right? Strategy-wise, we went really long in the first stint. We were still, even on old tires, with the fastest car on track, able to pull a little bit of a gap there. The yellow kind of hurt us all, I suppose, but the guys did an unbelievable job in that pit stop, +4 on that stop. So congrats to them. I mean, I think, from an engineering standpoint and from a team standpoint, for us to stay positive this year has been hard. There's a lot of people that doubt us. A lot of people think I can't drive. We know differently, but people do think that, and we'll just put our heads down. This is a good kickstart to the remainder of our year with Hy-Vee and everything. Next week is a big weekend, so hopefully we can have a great result for all of our partners there. But for Honda, another strong day. It's looking forward. It's a good way to start 5 and 4, right? So good start.
And you can't do it without pace, and you've explained over time just how hard everyone's working. Everyone works hard, but you've been working extremely hard on doing this. Where did the result on the pace really come from?
Well, it's even harder, even as Rocket said to me this weekend, said, hey, great job, with the team, because when others are continuing to develop too. So for us to try to close that gap from as far back as we were is really hard mid-season. It's not something that traditionally you can do, but we had a great test in Sebring. We thought that'd relate well to here. We had a good test in Iowa. We have high hopes for next weekend. Indy Grand Prix, we're okay, and then we go back to Nashville, which shouldn't replicate here. I mean, I think there's a lot of different aspects of this that add up. I think we found a few. We're still deficient in some areas for sure, but today was a great step in the right direction. So I'm really proud of the guys. I think a lot of people have been beating their heads against the wall this year. A lot of our sponsors, I know it's been tough on them, but for United Rentals and all of them, thank you so much for sticking with us and keep putting our heads down and go forward.
Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan fans, stay tuned. More to come.
And there's Scott Dixon, who makes some more history today. He's won in 20 different seasons. It started with Pac West in 2001. That's the one he won without Ganassi. The only years he didn't win, the next year in 02, and then there was a rough year for the Ganassi program in 04. 20 wins, or 20 seasons with a win.
Yeah, and 18 of them consecutive. It's just absolutely incredible what this guy has done. 6 championships in that time. And you can hear it right there. We needed that. It's a great result.
I'll tell you what, if you ask Dixon right now, how much longer are you going to do this? He'd say at least a decade based on how he's feeling right now and based on how he drove today, reminding everybody why he's the most successful driver in this field and tying a legend today in Mario Andretti.
Well, our stat man Russ Thompson gave us this stat. It took him it took him 7 years to get his last 15 wins, so he's probably been around for at least 7 more to try to get that next 15 and match AJ.
Hey, you never know, and it has been a much-needed boost for Chip Ganassi Racing after a turbulent week. We're not done. Stay with us. There's plenty more to come from Toronto on Peacock. It's back-to-back weekends for IndyCar. We're going to be busy, and we're back in Corn Country next weekend at Iowa Speedway on NBC and Peacock. Saturday at 4 Eastern, Sunday at 3 Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Short track action. We're going to see more fireworks. After being away for a little while, we'll get to see IndyCar racing again, and it is a very special weekend coming up with Hy-Vee presenting IndyCar race weekend. You've got Free Friday with a practice. They're going to open up the track. After that practice, the paddock will be open late on Friday afternoon. Saturday, qualifying an Indy Lights race. You've got concerts before and after racing both days. Let's see, we've got Tim McGraw, Florida Georgia line. Sunday, Gwen Stefani, Blake Shelton, and a pair of action-packed IndyCar races.
And
Be there.
Limited tickets still available, we understand. So, James, we might want to just pitch it up in the booth, spend the night with the action going on at the track. Let's head back down to pits, though, for with Dylan.
Caught up with Marcus Ericsson, who comes home 5th today, but more importantly extends his points lead to 35 now over Will Power. So on a day where some other guys struggled, you guys did what you needed to do and capitalized and had a good day. How would you sum it up?
Yeah, it was a very good day for us. We obviously qualified a little bit further back than we thought we should have. I think we had more speed. We showed in the practice sessions that we had speed to be, right up there. But missed a little bit in qualifying with balance driving, and that's enough to start, 9th. But even so, we had a good plan today, good strategy. The 8th crew did a great job. The Husky Chocolate Honda was really fast out there. So yeah, it was a good points day, like you said as well. And it's quite tough there at times as well. It was tough towards the end there. A couple of restarts that I had to be clever about, and always that risk versus reward when you're fighting for a championship. But I'm really happy with the way we managed to do the race today.
Yeah, we talked about that risk versus reward balance on the broadcast. How do you balance that? I mean, especially, you're battling Pelot, who's not only your teammate, but you're racing him for the championship too, and all the other guys out there. At what point do you have to kind of coincide and give something up maybe because for the greater good for the championship?
Yeah, it's really tough. It's a very fine line there, how aggressive you need to be and not do anything stupid. I think today was a perfect sort of measured drive from me. I was clever when I had to be and aggressive when I had to be, because there in the end, a couple of guys ahead did a bad restart and I managed to pick 2 positions, and that's going to be really important when we sum this up in Laguna in a couple, in the end of the season. So I think yeah, it's tough to have the right mental mindset and pick your battles, but I think we did that really well today. And yeah, P5 is a really, really good points day with some misfortune for some other guys.
Absolutely. Solid day for Marcus Ericsson and the Chip Ganassi racing car, Dave.
Dylan, I asked Alex Pelot after qualifications left him in 22nd if he could pull off a Will Power. That was 21st to 3rd at Mid-Ohio. Your answer was yes, so how pleased are you with 22nd to 6th?
We needed a bit more to do a power today, but super pleased with how we ended the race. A shame that we had the car to obviously do a little bit better, but we started far in the back. But yeah, it was a huge day for the team. 3 cars in the top 6. P6 for me starting 22nd, so super happy. Car was good. We gambled a bit on the first stop, pitting early. It kind of worked, and we were quite fast, overtook some cars on track, and it was fun. So yeah, it was a great weekend.
It appears you're not afraid to race your teammate and the championship leader there, Ericsson, a little hard, like you all did at Road America as well.
Yeah. It looks close, but I had to try. It was all jammed up. I couldn't really go much more there, and we were all fighting, but it was fun. And yeah, super happy with how the race ended up.
And Alex is still just 35 points out of the championship lead, 37 now actually, so he's got a shot before the end of the year.
And another good day turned in from Simon Pagenaud in the Meyer-Shank Racing car, comes home 7th today. So started 18th and worked your way forward, but another really solid day for you here on the streets of Toronto. How would you evaluate it?
Yeah, I think it's an amazing day for the team, especially the strategy. Mike Shank pulled out an incredible strategy, dragged everybody in. But we undercut basically, and with that undercut we were able to get so many spots in the first stint, getting off the red Firestone tires. Car was amazing on the black tires. We had some really good fights, really good passes. Unfortunately, I got bunched up with McLaughlin there on the last restart, and Ericsson and Palou were able to go by. But it's what it is, wrong spot, wrong time. But great battles out there. I love the track and super proud of the whole team.
This is a race and a racetrack that consistently proves to be pretty strategy heavy. You got to be fluid kind of with how the cautions fall and everything else. What's that like for you as a driver? Do you leave that all up to Mike? Is that something you guys go back and forth on? How do you balance deciding what to do and when to do it?
Well, we talk about it. We start talking about next race about tomorrow already. So we do this every week. We are very. We communicate a lot on strategy and what happened in previous years. We have a system now where we have a way to review all the races from before and put out the best strategy that won in the past and different scenarios. And then he picks what he needs depending where we qualify and how good I feel either on the black tires or the red tires.
All right, they hit it good today. Simon Pagenaud from 18th to 7th.
The story of the day, though, is Scott Dixon, the 7th different winner this season. And how about this? A tweet from the great Mario Andretti. Dixon has tied him with win number 52, second on the all-time list.
Gotta love that. Utmost respect. I think that says it all, certainly for me in the booth, and I think for this entire field of IndyCar competitors. They respect Scott Dixon for his incredible achievements, no more so than the great Mario Andretti. As we look at the points, 10 races down, boys. This thing is tightening up.
Remember, he's still fighting for a 7th championship to tie A.J. Foyt, and that win today puts him much more in play for that.
And we've talked about how he is traditionally been in his championship years, the second half of the season driver, so definitely a warning shot as we see how tight that top 5 is. Joseph Newgarden, not a great day after that snafu in pit lane, being a little bit too wide to get his fuel hose in.
Couple of guys on the rise. Colton Herta up 2 spots. Felix Rosenqvist up 2. What's going to happen if Rosenqvist finishes ahead of O'Ward in this championship? That'll be a space to watch to keep it interesting.
Certainly, and Alex Palou again showing that championship medal, starting all the way back in 22nd, picking up 16 spots to get to 6th and a spot in the championship to boot. So a great result for a team that's had a tough week, to be fair.
Now, meanwhile, the racing day and weekend is not done. You can flip over to USA right now to see the NASCAR Cup Series going at New Hampshire. And don't forget, on Peacock, you've got the archives that you can go back and watch qualifying from yesterday, the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, and so much more. I have greatly enjoyed my return visit to Canada.
Oh, as have I. Thanks for the dinner. The Hate Cauldron launched, unveiled here in Toronto exclusively on Peacock. You gotta think we'll be throwing some more stuff into the stew, James, next week in Iowa.
There's definitely been some stuff on track that might add to it, but I'm looking forward to that little bull ring.
Hinch has been a great host. He picked up dinner. Can't wait. We'll see you in Iowa for a doubleheader on NBC next weekend. Congratulations, Scott Dixon wins again.